A young man with spiky hair enthusiastically introduces himself as the YouTuber Kyra Ringo. He taunts a larger man named Orican, asking if he's scared to fight. Onlookers egg on the confrontation, encouraging Orican to attack. With a crazed laugh, Kyra Ringo films Orican, who is now unconscious on the ground. A close-up captures his wild, hysterical laughter as he revels in the chaos. Kyra Ringo gleefully flees the scene, filming himself as police arrive to find Awakens' motionless body. A fresh scratch on his cheek, he internally acknowledges that he is the scum of society. Later, he checks his phone, seeing that his viewer count is still climbing. A stream of hateful comments fills his feed, with users branding him a criminal. Despite the vitriol, his donation balance has reached a staggering 3.8 million yen. Overcome with manic joy at his earnings, he laughs uncontrollably, unable to stop. His entire demeanor shifts as he looks with concern at his sister, Akari, asking if she's all right. Akari, sitting in a hospital bed, gently tells her brother he worries too much. He offers her a cake he brought, which she playfully accuses him of wanting for himself. She sternly points a finger, reminding him of their promise to have only one sweet per day. He sheepishly admits to having 3, but she knows he's lying and has actually had 6. She lectures him about eating properly and doing his chores, and he meekly agrees. With an affectionate smile, Akari tells him he would be completely helpless without her. Her words elicit a genuine, warm smile from him, a world away from his online persona. Akari greedily takes a bite of cake, declaring she'll eat his share too. She suddenly doubles over, coughing violently, as he tells her it's because she ate too fast. Clutching her chest in pain, her coughing fit worsens as he cries out her name in alarm. Outside the hospital, he recalls pressing the nurse call button while she apologizes to him. She clutches her chest, wondering why her body is failing and vowing to hold on. He makes a grand promise that in 1 month, they'll go to America for the best surgery. Akari looks at him with a gentle, hopeful expression and agrees to his plan. She quietly voices her concern, asking him if he's really okay and how he'll get the money. With a confident wink, he tells her not to worry, as he's found a great part-time job. A stern older man internally judges this way of life, causing trouble for others. Suji's inner thoughts reveal his desperation, knowing he has no other skills to earn the money. The serene, smiling face of Akari appears in his mind, his one true motivation. Staring at the flood of hate online, he resolves to create even more controversy. 1 month later, the scene is set on a city street. A phone screen announces Kyra Ringo's account has been deleted, with users speculating why. The rumor of a prison school for phone addicts is dismissed by Suji as an urban legend. An exterior shot shows the apartment building where he is now apparently confined. In his messy room, Suji eats pudding, ranking its flavor among other convenience store sweets. He smiles softly, thinking to himself that his sister Akari would enjoy this flavor. His expression turns somber as his gaze drifts to the other side of the room. He looks at a second futon, covered by a blanket with a cat pattern. His phone buzzes on the table, breaking the silence and capturing his attention. He picks up the phone, a gentle, hopeful smile spreading across his face. A message from Akari at Fighting Illness cheerfully asks what her brother is doing. He texts her back that he's eating pudding, and she playfully scolds him for it. In a video call, Akari's bright face tells him she feels great, like her illness was a lie. She flashes a peace sign, promising she'll be able to see him again soon. He clutches the phone to his chest, whispering how relieved and happy he is. An external shot of the apartment building at night creates an unsettling atmosphere. Suji lies peacefully on his futon, smiling as he looks at his phone. The camera focuses on the other futon, where a still, unmoving lump is visible under the blanket. Letting out a questioning sound, Suji's peaceful expression begins to waver. A strange thought seems to occur to him as he hums quietly. A shadowy figure with glowing eyes suddenly looms over him, raising a sledgehammer. He lets out a scream of terror as the hammer smashes down, narrowly missing his head. The attacker, a young man with dark hair, clicks his tongue, annoyed that Suji dodged. Terrified, Suji scrambles back, demanding to know who the intruder is. The intruder's eyes narrow as he prepares to answer the frantic question. After apologizing for his language, the man declares that this is his house. Suji screams back in confused protest that this is his home. He lunges for his phone on the floor, yelling that his attacker is a murderer. A scythe-like weapon swings, forcing Suji to dive away as the intruder snatches the phone. Suji's eyes widen in shock as he realizes he recognizes his attacker. The intruder is momentarily distracted by the phone, giving Suji an opening to charge. A memory flashes of seeing the intruder at a playground, being accused of burglary. The horrifying realization dawns on Suji that his phone was the true target all along. On the phone screen, the smiling face of Akari is visible. A shadowy image of the attacker looms behind Suji, who is now focused on the phone. His fear replaced by fury, Suji declares he is now acting in self-defense. A desperate, messy brawl erupts between the two young men in the cluttered room. The intruder powerfully blocks one of Suji's punches with the head of his hammer. Suji throws a nearby can, managing to hit the intruder in the head. He follows up with a solid punch, landing a blow directly on the intruder's jaw. Suji confirms his theory, realizing his phone was the true target from the start. The two opponents stand apart, the intruder holding his hammer, ready for the next move. The intruder reveals he knows Suji's full name and his identity as the Flamebait YouTuber. Suji is shocked, admitting he never even wanted to watch his own controversial videos. The attacker screams in disgust, declaring the mere memory of Suji's content makes him sick. He offers a strange, formal apology for using such vulgar language. Suji prostrates himself on the ground, offering a desperate, heartfelt apology. Rising to his knees, he admits he got the other man caught up in his personal mess. He pleads with the man to spare him until he can get in touch with his sister. Holding up his phone, he explains that he needs to message his sister, who is far away. He insists that he will be in serious trouble if he loses contact with her. The dark-haired man lunges forward, attempting to snatch the phone from Suji's hand. He swings a large weapon, demanding Suji give him the phone so he can destroy it. He furiously yells that he must break the phone and doesn't care about Suji himself. Suji clutches the phone protectively, insisting that it's a message from his sister. The man looks down at Suji, asking if he even realizes what he is saying. A shot of the cat-patterned blanket covering the urn underscores the terrible reality. He screams the devastating truth. Suji's sister died a month ago. Suji's face contorts in pure shock as his world shatters around him. The cat-patterned blanket is pulled back, revealing the funerary urn beneath. A memorial is shown, with Akari's smiling photo next to the urn. In denial, Suji shoves his phone forward, asking who has been messaging him then. He remembers visiting Akari in the hospital just before her condition suddenly worsened. The memory continues, showing a doctor solemnly announcing Akari's time of death. Suji's face is a mask of stunned horror as he whispers that it's all a lie. He recalls being unable to accept her death and even skipping her funeral. A close-up of the memorial shows the urn and Akari's framed photo. Staring at the memorial, Suji insists that this can't possibly be Akari's remains. With a look of sheer shock, a young man named Suji stares at his phone. His screen reveals a history of desperate, unanswered messages sent to his sister, Akari. He sits alone, a desolate figure surrounded by a mountain of trash in his apartment. With hollow eyes, he mechanically eats pudding, one of many empty containers before him. His gaunt face is illuminated by the phone as he sees a single message marked "Read." The notification, sent at 10 p.m. in 6 seconds, hangs in the air, a silent, impossible promise. His eye widens in utter disbelief, the pupil shrinking to a tiny black dot. A new message appears from Akari at Fighting Illness, cheerfully asking if he's eating properly. A flood of memories, her gentle nagging, her warm presence, convinces him this is real. A voice calls out, "Big brother," from his phone, stunning him with overwhelming joy. He holds the phone up to a dark-haired exorcist, Uruma, exclaiming that it's Akari's voice. Uruma clicks his tongue, his face hardening with annoyance as he senses the immediate danger. On the screen, Akari's smiling face glitches and pixelates, her voice distorted and strained. Suji, his face streaked with tears of relief, believes his sister is alive inside his phone. The image lets out a piercing digital scream, blasting Suji backward as Uruma prepares to act. Uruma's expression is one of grim determination. He knows he must move quickly. He smashes his own phone on the ground, shouting that the other device must be destroyed now. Suji can only watch in horror, his mouth agape at the sudden, violent turn of events. Uruma's gaze is cold and focused, his duty as an exorcist now painfully clear. Lying on the ground, Suji's phone begins to glitch, its screen dissolving into pixels. The display erupts into a violent storm of digital static and corrupted data. Uruma's foot lands firmly on the ground as he stands over the disintegrating device. Kneeling on the ground, Suji is speechless, utterly stunned by the rapid chaos. A ghostly, translucent figure of Akari rises, thanking her brother for protecting her. Overwhelmed, Suji breaks down completely, his body racked with gut-wrenching sobs. The serene spirit of Akari fully materializes, softly telling him they have met again. She beams at him, a radiant, loving smile as she thanks him for raising her. With tears in his eyes, Suji looks up at her, choking out his sister's name. Her beautiful face suddenly twists, her eyes turning into black, weeping voids of static. The image horrifically distorts, her eyes becoming swirling vortexes of digital terror. Uruma roars at Suji to get back, warning him that the entity is no longer his sister. The spirit transforms into a monstrous beast, shrieking that it is not Akari. Its long, wild hair whips around as its grotesque insect-like form fully emerges. Uruma grimly explains that Suji was communicating with a Yurei, a ghost. He notes that in the modern era, ghosts have begun haunting smartphones. This monster is a Kakabou, a spirit possessing a dead account on social media. Suji stammers that it's unscientific, while Uruma chides him for conversing with the dead. Uruma seethes with frustration, furious that Suji's interference allowed the ghost to manifest. He offers a clipped apology for his rudeness, taking responsibility for what comes next. The monster's face, with its vacant, swirling eyes, looms menacingly over them. Uruma explains that once in this state, normal physical attacks are completely useless. He clutches his own device, preparing to channel his power through it. Suji stares in shock, his mind struggling to process the impossible situation. Uruma calmly states that to fight it, they must use a smartphone. Suji looks at his own phone, wondering what he is supposed to do. A diagram illustrates how traditional exorcism tools are useless against these digital ghosts. Pixelated energy begins to flow from the exorcist's hand into his phone. Suji realizes with horror that this exorcism affects the living as well. Uruma declares they must digitally convert their spiritual power to fight back. A massive, ornate digital hammer materializes, its presence shocking Suji. Suji murmurs in awe about the beautiful weapon born from his sister's ghost. Uruma notes Suji's spiritual aptitude, seeing he can perceive the iron hammer of justice. He reassures the boy, gripping his weapon and vowing to exorcise his sister's spirit. Seeing the monster is distracted by the phone, Uruma seizes his chance and charges. He unleashes a powerful blast of crackling energy from his hands. Uruma moves with lethal grace, a blur of motion as he attacks the shrieking spirit. His face is a mask of fierce determination as he presses his overwhelming assault. Suji watches in horror as the weapon flies through the air toward Akari's form. Uruma unleashes a devastating storm of glowing gavels, his political justice hammer. The creature is utterly annihilated in a chaotic explosion of dark energy and static. Its face contorts in a final, silent scream as it is violently destroyed. Uruma stands firm, weapon in hand, declaring that the battle is over. His partner shouts for the dead to return to the underworld, to Yomi. Suji lunges forward, tackling Uruma from behind and screaming for him to stop. He points at the dissipating remains on the ground, pleading that she's in pain. The ghost of Akari flickers violently, whimpering in agony as she fades. A wisp of her spiritual form rises from the fallen, broken phone. Suji begs Uruma not to make her disappear, having only just met her again. His face streaked with tears, he screams that people die and don't come back. Uruma roars back enraged, telling Suji to wake up and face reality. Suji insists that Uruma isn't the only one who has suffered from loss. Uruma yells that he has to find a way to live with it, just like everyone else. The ghost of Akari reaches a spectral, pixelated hand towards her fallen phone. She looms over the paralyzed Suji, her form huge and distorted by static. Uruma and his partner launch a sweeping attack, urging Akari to get down. The attack strikes Suji, sending him tumbling violently across the pavement. Uruma is splattered with blood from the brutal, collateral impact. Suji realizes he dropped his receiver and his body is completely paralyzed. He looks up at the monster, whispering Akari's name in utter despair. The monster's mouth opens wide in a silent, possessive scream. She whispers that now they can finally be together forever. A devastating realization dawns on Suji's bloodied, horrified face. He remembers Akari's message saying he'd be helpless without her. He recalls her telling him not to die and leave her all alone. He understands that he was the one with the lingering, unhealthy attachment. His own unresolved grief was the force keeping her tethered to this world. His phone, the source of his obsession and pain, lies on the ground. He remembers his past as a cruel online troll, reveling in others' misery. He recalls the unpleasant joy he found in being the scum of society. With a final surge of will, he reaches a trembling hand for his broken phone. He smashes the phone against the hard ground with his bloodied fist. Uruma watches in shock as the ghost shrieks in response to the action. Suji presses his fist down on the phone, channeling all his despair into it. A torrent of pixelated, flame-like energy erupts from the shattered device. Suji stands tall, transformed by his grief into a being of immense power. Uruma recognizes the digital conversion of spiritual power, stunned by the sight. Suji's face is a mask of blood and cold, hard resolve. A strange, ethereal flame now swirls around him, a power all his own. The ghost wails that he died with her and cannot stay in this world. She screams for them to be together in the abyss, to share her fate. The monstrous ghost of Akari screams, begging her brother to join her in death. Suji's memory reveals his guilt, believing he was a useless brother to his sister. He hardens his resolve, telling her memory that he no longer needs her worry. With a determined smile, Suji declares that he will be fine on his own now. Clutching his phone, he unleashes a massive torrent of pixelated flame energy. A swirling vortex of digital fire consumes the battlefield in a powerful blast. The ghost of Akari is caught in the storm, her form peacefully dissolving. In the aftermath, a lone Suji stands amidst clouds of dissipating energy. Utterly spent, his face is a mask of exhaustion and profound sorrow. He throws his head back, letting out a raw, guttural scream of grief. A stylish girl with a ponytail, Kyoka, arrives on the scene, speaking into her phone. Her fanged companion, Narumoto, looks down at the battered Suji with concern. The mascot Hiyori exclaims Suji is dead, while Narumoto cries out that Uraha died. The injured Uruma Taku weakly retorts that he's not dead yet, admitting his failure. Kyoka smirks, dismissing the drama and thanking Mibuchi-sensei for their actions. Elsewhere, Hasumi Renri looks at his phone, observing that he has awakened. In another scene, several figures lie defeated, groaning about a devastating fire attack. A man named Kazuha, held by the throat, pleads for his attacker to listen. A malevolent, pulsating fire is revealed as the source of the destruction. A girl with twin tails and a boy watch the grim spectacle unfold. They observe with a mixture of fear and awe at the powerful attacker. The boy coolly states their plan is to take the fiery attacker with them. A confident teacher, Aragi Ibamaru, is introduced with a smug smile. The ominous Miden Gakuen is shown, an inescapable school for spirit mediums. A defeated Inshiro grimly contemplates his fate, lying bloodied on the ground. In a nightmare, he sees his deceased sister Akari become a horrifying ghost. The dream shows Kazuha trying to exorcise the ghost as Inshiro awakens his power. Inshiro jolts awake in a futon, relieved that it was just a dream. Clutching his hair, he whispers his relief that it was all just a dream. Across from him, a woman, Kaguriru, sips tea, confirming his reality is not a dream. He frantically demands to know who she is and where they are. His thoughts immediately turn to his sister Akari, wondering what happened to her. Kaguriru calmly holds up his smartphone, which she has already charged for him. She explains that a spirit's account must be deleted to lay them to rest. The truth crashes down on him. He can no longer message his sister. He stares at his phone, muttering that she has been gone for a while. The weight of her final death settles upon him as he looks at the blank screen. He laughs it off with a wide, manic grin, trying to hide his pain. Kaguriru watches his forced cheerfulness with a flat, unimpressed expression. He becomes even more animated, laughing hysterically about a promise he made with his sister. Her patience snaps and she mutters that he's a piece of shit. She tells him to stop the pathetic act, reminding him he told her to live. He stares at her, stunned into silence by her piercing gaze. She formally introduces herself as Kaguriru Taku, telling him not to use her first name. She tells him to follow her, offering to guide him to the bath. He wonders if this place is really not a traditional inn. An exterior shot reveals a sprawling modern campus with traditional elements. Other students are seen relaxing and walking through the impressive complex. Kaguriru stands on a glass-walled walkway, looking out over the large campus. Two students sit together in a quiet lounge area studying. A large sign confirms the building's identity, Miden Gakuen, a school for spirit mediums. Inshiro is incredulous, shouting that it looks exactly like an inn. Seeing the surrounding town of Kusatsu, his conviction that it's a resort grows. Passing an arcade with a ping-pong table further confuses him. A gift shop selling local souvenirs and mascot goods solidifies his belief. He looks at a box of manju buns, his mouth watering at the delicious treat. In the magnificent onsen, he declares that it's definitely a ryokan. The warm water seems to heal his wounds and soothe his worries. He blushes, feeling a profound sense of relief and comfort in the bath. The warmth makes him feel like he could cry from sheer relief. As he relaxes, a memory of the damn priest from his nightmare surfaces. The teacher, Aragi Ibamaru, bursts from the water, roaring his arrival. The other students laugh at the teacher's boisterous entrance, calling him Umibozu. Another student with pointed ears calmly warns the teacher about his blood pressure. The three of them share a quiet, agreeable moment in the water. Aragi shakes hands with Inshiro, formally welcoming him as a teacher. Kaguriru complains that she doesn't want to be around a fire-type user. Inshiro overhears her, confused by her words about a pale flame. Aragi and Kaguriro are shown together, their dynamic one of tense disagreement. Aragi slings an arm around Inshiro, enthusiastically asking him to enroll. He gives a hearty thumbs up, promising to make Inshiro a first-rate spirit medium. Inshiro can only stare, stunned by the sudden and intense recruitment effort. Aragi winks, confident in his assessment of his new potential student. The two laugh together, a moment of camaraderie that excludes the annoyed Kasuba. Aragi asks his colleague why she dislikes Inshiro, questioning her prejudice. He explains that it's only natural to recruit a student who has awakened their power. He offers to explain the history of their craft, noting Inshiro's interest. He details how spirit mediums evolved to fight cyber ghosts with digital power. Inshiro, ignoring the lesson, excitedly plans to go sightseeing in Kusatsu. Kaguriro grabs his shoulder, her presence radiating menace as she confronts him. Inshiro declares that he wants nothing more to do with ghosts or spirit mediums. He insists he just wants to live a simple life of eating sweets and sleeping. His one wish, he thinks, is for his sister Akari to be happy and healthy. With forced cheerfulness, he announces he's going to buy manju and go home. He walks away with a wave, leaving the priest Kazuha standing in his path. His back is turned as he walks away, seemingly resolved to leave this world behind. He falters for a moment, his past catching up to him. He turns back, his face a mask of shock as Kazuha speaks. Kazuha reveals he's glad Inshiro is finally interested in the truth. He delivers the stunning revelation: his sister was murdered by a powerful monster. A vision of Akari's terrified face flashes through Inshiro's mind. He sees a horrific image of her lifeless body, bleeding from the eyes. His grief and shock instantly morph into pure, unadulterated rage. Kazuha asks him what he will do now that he knows the truth. Inshiro snarls that he will find the person responsible and kill them immediately. Aragi-sensei pops into view, cheerfully declaring that is impossible because he is weak. Inshiro shoves past Aragi, telling the smirking monk Kasuba to move. He furiously pushes Kasuba, declaring his taunts are getting on his nerves. Kasuba looks back with supreme confidence, acknowledging that he will be his opponent. A smiling young man proposes a game to the furious Midorishiro. Holding a smartphone, he explains the rules of their contest. His ally Kasuga will defeat Midorishiro to teach him strength. Kasuga, with his friend's help, prepares to activate his power. A surge of digital energy erupts from his hands. He unleashes his cybernetic output, summoning a weapon. A massive, ornate hammer of data materializes. With a cruel smirk, he names it the Hammer of Justice. He expresses his willingness to crush his opponent. Enraged, Midorishiro lunges, yelling, "This is not a game." He roars that someone has died, and this is for them. Kasuga dodges the powerful punch with contemptuous ease. Unimpressed, he chides Midorishiro for his pathetic pride. The fight continues on a walkway as Midorishiro stumbles. Kasuga taunts him, saying his sister was more pathetic when she cried. Midorishiro whirls around, spitting the insult, "Bastard monk." His face contorts in pure rage at the mention of his sister. He vows to teach his opponent a lesson if he touches Ryuni. His furious punch is effortlessly blocked by the weapon's shaft. Midorishiro's face is a mask of desperate rage. Kasuga's expression remains one of cold, analytical confidence. Onlookers watch as a teacher protests the destructive chaos. Aoki-sensei, the orchestrator, simply tells her to watch closely. A girl with pigtails dismisses it as a stupid internet flame war. A tiny mascot character cheers, thrilled to see a live fight. A long-haired girl notes the rare, genuine animosity. A boy with headphones declares that he wants no part of this. Midorishiro struggles, noting the incredible weight of the defense. Kasuga flows around him, a graceful and untouchable figure. The digital weapon seems to stretch and contract at will. Frustrated, Midorishiro yells that his opponent is just toying with him. Kasuga lands gracefully, announcing his new target is Midorishiro himself. He promises to make his opponent feel his wrath. From the sidelines, a friend reveals Midorishiro's desperate need for money. He explains that Midorishiro's sister needed help. His small mascot character listens intently atop a student's head. Kasuga sneers at the sick family member excuse. He calls it a convenient justification for any action. His friends look on as Midorishiro's noble cause is mocked. Enraged, Midorishiro shouts that his opponent has a rotten personality. He declares he would have sold his own eyeballs for the money. Kasuga taunts him, asking if he was enjoying the fight. He lands a sharp kick, sending Midorishiro flying away. Kasuga's own temper finally begins to fray. He yells at Midorishiro for irritating him so much. Leaping high, he prepares a devastating finishing blow. He screams the name of his attack, a beating of justice. Midorishiro is engulfed in the impact, letting out an agonized scream. Kasuga stands over his defeated foe, his task complete. He calmly apologizes for using such vulgar language. Lying defeated, Midorishiro mutters that this is against the rules. Aogi kneels beside him, explaining the nature of Denu power. The upside-down face of Aogi-sensei looks down with a smile. He tells Midorishiro that's why he needs to unleash his own power. Kasuga instructs him to take a receiver for his phone. He explains it's a spiritual power converter. He tells Midorishiro to concentrate now that his body is awakened. Midorishiro kneels, focusing the heat in his gut into the phone. A surge of pixelated energy erupts from the device. The onlookers are shocked by the display of flame-type power. The training hall is thrown into chaos by his uncontrolled movement. Kasuga watches with a detached, unimpressed expression. Midorishiro lies amidst the wreckage, dazed and confused. He is shocked by his own uncontrolled power. He realizes the flame moved because he thought of his foot. He understands that he knows what he must do now. He ricochets around the room, a blur of motion. The spectators watch in awe as he uses the fire to move. Aogi-sensei identifies it as a flame-type ability. An explosion of light marks the impact of his fiery kick. The tables have turned as Kasuga is put on the defensive. He curses in frustration as the attack hurtles towards him. A teacher with glasses yells at Aogi-sensei for the rampage. She exclaims that Midorishiro has a simple talent for destruction. Aogi calmly declares the exhibition over, congratulating them both. Kasuga is furious, telling the brat to stay back. Aogi-sensei looks dejected, admitting he imposed his selfish ideals. Midorishiro, grinning, vows that with this power, he won't lose. He demands Kasuga apologize and prepares to fight again. He declares he'll crush his opponent, even if he is a monster. He faces off against a dark, shadowy version of Kasuga. Digital platforms materialize beneath the falling Midorishiro. He is slammed down through them in a counter battle. He stares up from the wreckage, his face a mask of shock. He stands amidst the shattered platform, utterly defeated. He looks at his hand in disbelief. His discarded phone lies on the ground nearby. Aogi-sensei's boot steps into view before the defeated boy. The teacher stands amidst the chaos, holding a new weapon. Midorishiro can only think that his teacher is strong. Aogi gently tells him that he is weak too. Kasuga lies defeated, realizing his own powerlessness. He charges at Aogi, who sends him flying with a fan. Midorishiro is thrown to the ground by the force. Midorishiro and Kasuga are both stunned by the effortless display. Aogi looks down at Kasuga with a smug, knowing smile. He tells him his spirit is completely broken. He then turns to Midorishiro, his finger pointed accusingly. He apologizes for provoking him and for his rudeness. He confesses he couldn't prevent his sister's death. A dark-haired young man, Aogi, looks on with an impressed expression, murmuring the name Enshiro-kun in awe. Kneeling before the defeated Enshiro, Aogi formally apologizes for provoking him and for failing to prevent his sister's death. With his face pressed to the ruined floor, Enshiro cries out that he is the one who should be sorry. Looking up at his teacher, Enshiro desperately pleads to be allowed to enroll in the academy. A girl with pigtails insists Enshiro will become a spirit medium, while he looks on with surprise. Enshiro admits his weakness to Aogi, declaring his resolve to become stronger at the academy. The dark-haired Kasumi watches this transformation, his eyes wide with shock at Enshiro's vow to surpass everyone. With a knowing smile, Aogi approves of Enshiro's new determined expression and encourages him to grow stronger. Tears of rage and determination stream down Enshiro's face as he screams his vow to avenge his sister, Akari. Aogi beams with a genuine, proud smile, pleased with the boy's newfound resolve. Crouching down, Aogi warmly welcomes Enshiro to Midden Academy, offering him a delicious steamed bun. A woman with glasses informs a shocked Aogi that the headmaster is billing him for the destroyed property. The scene shifts to a dark, messy room, a dead account log where voices question if they are even exorcists. An exorcist team navigates the wreckage of a room, complaining about the poor GPS accuracy. One of them recoils in terror upon discovering a corpse slumped against a wall. On the floor near the body lies a smartphone, which is immediately identified as the target's device. A powerful, glitching phantom reaction erupts from the phone, and the team is ordered to prepare for battle. A monstrous, shadowy creature, a Bakibasu, begins to manifest from the phone's screen. The ball team leader scans the phone's profile, annoyed that even kids are on social media. A stark warning flashes on his screen, showing the profile of Sabashigeria, the lonely one. Realizing it's a trap, the team leader screams for everyone to run from the dangerous Sabashigeria. A chaotic splash page shows the destructive power of the entity, its form a whirlwind of malice. The full account name is revealed, Sabashigeria no Kei, a phantom with no known personal information. This dead account is declared the greatest enemy of the Exorcist Association. Aogi gravely informs a seated Inshiro that this monster, K, is the one who killed his sister. 5 hours later in a classroom, a bandaged Inshiro tries to process the revelation about the blue flame. Aogi explains the nature of the cursed Onabi flame, which drains the life from anything it touches. Horrifying memory flashes through Inshiro's mind. Akari, crying tears of blood, engulfed in the same fire. The realization hits Inshiro with the force of a physical blow, his eyes wide with shock. He stammers in disbelief, realizing the truth as a teacher looks on from the doorway. Leaping to his feet, Inshiro holds up his phone, questioning why he has the same power as his sister's killer. He frantically asks why he fought them and why he isn't dead, while Aogi finds his questions interesting. The screen simply reads, "Playback ended." Aogi suggests Inshiro go home to sort through his overwhelming thoughts, putting a hand on his shoulder. Kasumi looms over a terrified Inshiro, declaring there's no way they're letting him go home. Onibi, the pigtail-haired girl, looks on with her companion, who holds a snack as she chides someone. Kasumi's eyes narrow with intense focus, his resolve hardening. Hasumi, the light-haired boy with an earring, smiles with calm confidence. Another student looks on with a serious, determined expression. The tiny mascot Aoi lets out a determined shout. Hasumi announces that Inshiro and Kasumi are now classmates in the green class. Kasumi gets in Inshiro's face, warning him not to touch his classmates or he'll kill him. Kasumi calls the situation utterly rude and ridiculous. Hasumi tries to get everyone to take a selfie, praising the exciting fight and calling it a good rivalry. He eagerly tries to organize a group photo, counting down as his classmates look on with mixed reactions. Hasumi snaps a selfie with the group while Kasumi seethes, annoyed by their casual attitude. Aogi laughs, pleased with the group's dynamic, and announces the start of their training. In a large training hall, Aogi declares the beginning of their first trial. Aogi explains that passing this test of their Denu will grant them a license for field missions. Inshiro looks down, his mind on the field, the place where he will face his enemies. His resolve hardens as he vows that a day will come when he faces the monstrous K directly. A gruesome memory of Akari's blood-streaked, lifeless face flashes through his mind. The image of Akari's death is violently seared into his memory. A softer memory of Akari smiling serenely surfaces, telling him to wait for her. Inshiro's face transforms into a feral grin as he vows to kill the damn ghost responsible. His new classmates watch him, their expressions a mixture of shock and concern. Aoki smirks, giving a nice reply and officially starting the test. Pixelated energy erupts from a strange, lamp-like device, signaling the start of the trial. Inshiro and Aogi stand in the vast empty training hall. Inshiro stares with wide-eyed shock at the unfolding event. Hulking muscular artificial spirits materialize, and Aogi announces the goal. Defeat 100 of them. One of the blank-faced spirits lunges forward to attack. Aogi sternly warns Inshiro not to underestimate them, or he will die. Inshiro roars, unleashing his Denu output as a fiery aura erupts from his phone. He becomes a blur of motion, a blade of energy forming as he dashes into the fight. His classmates cheer him on, amazed at his power, while he expresses his own surprise. His phone screen suddenly glitches and flickers violently. Aogi calls a halt to the test, his face serious. Inshiro's energy aura sputters and dies as he stumbles, confused. Aoki explains that his power is synchronized with the phone's battery charge. Inshiro, exhausted, realizes with frustration that he's simply out of spiritual power. His phone's screen displays a stark 0% battery, confirming he's out of energy. During a meal, Ari explains the test was meant to teach him the limits of his battery. Inshiro lies on the floor, muttering that he understands the lesson. The class eats together, with a teammate encouraging Inshiro to eat up. Aogi explains that once Inshiro's power is depleted, he needs a minimum of 5 hours of sleep. Aogi laughs, telling a mortified Inshiro that this weakness proves how powerful his Denu truly is. His expression turns serious as he announces the real test is in 1 week with only one chance. He warns that failure means being confined to the school, and Inshiro reacts with shock. A student explains the school is in turmoil, with many suspecting a connection between Inshiro and Kei. Inshiro looks on in horror at a chaotic vision of monstrous entities. The students are dismissed to rest, told that sleep is the most important part of recovery. Inshiro wonders where his room is, as Onabi coldly tells him to stop spacing out. She walks away from him, telling him not to take his eyes off her. Inshiro is shocked to discover he and Onabi are roommates, and she lays down the strict house rules. Inshiro's face is a mask of fierce determination as he looks at Onibi. Onibi scoffs, wondering why she has to be paired with such scum, insulting him. Inshiro bows deeply, begging Onibi to train him to control his power within the week. Onibi is so shocked by his plea that she spits out her drink in disbelief. She asks if he has any pride left, bowing his head to an opponent like her. Inshiro declares his pride is worthless. He is weak and she is incredibly strong. Onibi looks down at him, her expression a mixture of shock and contemplation. She states that even without him asking, she was already planning to guide him under Aogi's orders. Inshiro is overjoyed, thanking her profusely and promising to do his best. Aogi leaves the two of them to it, leaving Onibi in charge of Inshiro's training. Onibi reveals her true feelings, admitting she despises him because he's a flame-type user. Aogi believes this antagonistic pairing will ultimately be beneficial for both of them. Later, while brushing their teeth, Inshiro admits he understands it's useless, but he's afraid of failing. In their room, Inshiro can't sleep, while Onibi, already in bed, suggests playing Uno. The next day, Inshiro is back in the training hall, unleashing his power against the Yumemi-kun. The training begins and the spiky-haired Jiro struggles, his power draining rapidly to 65%. From the sidelines, his supervisor, Onibi, watches with intense focus, demanding he squeeze out more power. She explains that spiritual power is tied to his mental state, suggesting he imagine extinguishing a fire. If he can grasp his own unique image, she insists, he can control his power freely. Jiro strains, desperately trying to conjure a personal image to control his chaotic energy. His power cuts out at 0% and he collapses, having defeated only 35 opponents. On the second day of training, he fights furiously, but without any notable success. His classmates watch from the stands, one remarking that this kind of control is an impossible game. He collapses again, his record for the day dropping to a meager 31 opponents. Frustrated, he screams as Onibi calmly offers him a manju bun, which he spits out. On the third day, he relies on a massive intake of caffeine to push himself. He falls once more as Onibi watches, his record for the day reaching 41. Day 4 shows him passed out after defeating 49 opponents, with Onibi reading about anger control. His record dips to 38 on the 5th day, as he pants in exhaustion while she sips tea. On the 6th day, the frustration boils over as he and Onibi scream at each other. Ayakashi calmly watches Jiro sleeping, noting his record is 44, and tells him to wake up. Jiro flails in his sleep while Ayakashi explains that a superficial image is useless. Leaning in, Ayakashi instructs him to imagine his power with his entire being. Jiro nervously eats a snack as Ayakashi expresses his frustration with him. Ayakashi points out the real test is tomorrow, asking if Jiro intends to fail. His calm demeanor cracks as he promises to kill Jiro, to chew him to the bone. Jiro's eyes widen in sheer terror at the chilling, serious threat. He stammers, the word bone echoing in his mind with palpable fear. Walking away, Jiro wonders if he'll ever be able to go home. Ayakashi watches him, a satisfied smirk on his face, everything proceeding as he predicted. Jiro clenches his fist, a single powerful memory giving him new resolve. He frantically points out that his sister Akari's house and remains are gone. He panics, wondering what to do about the empty space where she was. Ayakashi asks if he's heard him, questioning if he plans to make excuses and run away. Jiro bites his thumb, declaring fiercely that he won't run, as this is his only path. Ayakashi's eyes narrow slightly, his plan having succeeded perfectly. He lets out a quiet sound of satisfaction, looking at the Midden Academy building. In the arena, Jiro prepares for the test, watched by spectators from above. His classmates and rivals watch from the balcony, recognizing him as the one from before. Ayakashi, also watching, notes Jiro's Onibi-possessing nature with a quiet, appreciative gaze. A serious-looking proctor observes the proceedings with a stern expression. Jiro's eyes are filled with a cold, unwavering determination for the test. The test begins and Jiro unleashes his power, his battery at 100%. A hulking, muscular opponent lunges forward to attack him. Jiro braces for the impact, shouting that he's ready for the fight. He engages his opponent, a blur of motion and flame, as a digital timer begins. A proctor notes the impressive size of Jiro's flame as he fights. At 20 seconds, his power is already down 50%, and he curses in frustration. The proctors murmur, wondering if he can learn to control his power in just 1 week. His classmates look on with concern, calling out his name. They shout encouragement from the balcony, telling the newbie to do his best. Ayakashi's calm expression is shown in a narrow, intense panel. Jiro struggles, being pushed back by the relentless assault of his opponent. The timer ticks past 26 seconds as proctors watch his performance. His face is a mask of desperation and rage as his confidence crumbles. At 35 seconds, his power drops to a critical 28% as he grits his teeth. A wave of mocking laughter seems to echo around him as he falters. Ayakashi's voice invades his mind, furiously berating him for his pathetic display. Jiro freezes, shocked by the mental intrusion of the Anju Yaru, flame-bait bastard. His classmates are confused by his sudden hesitation, shouting in surprise. The serious proctor watches the strange turn of events with a neutral gaze. Ayakashi's voice roars at him to hurry up and fail if he can't win. He screams that he'll watch over Jiro as he dies. The spectators join in, chanting for him to die with manic glee. His classmates look on, one even remarking that they'll join in the taunting. The word die flashes everywhere as he's pummeled by a swarm of opponents. The command die fills his vision, surrounded by hateful messages. Back in his room, he reflects on being told to die so many times. His mind flashes to a painful image of Akari collapsing on the kitchen floor. He recalls the paralyzing terror of that moment, the most frightening thing he'd ever seen. The memory of needing an impossible amount of money to save her life surfaces. He remembers how the world's scorn, the damning calumny, became his only resource. The thought of needing a huge sum of money fills his mind. He recalls how his own anguished screams transformed into the money he needed. In the arena, his power at 16%, this realization hits him with force. He suppresses the wild flame, focusing on an image of just himself. His classmates are baffled, shouting that his flame is smaller now. Ayakashi sees the truth, a satisfied smile on his face as he says Jiro has seized it. As the timer hits 0, Jiro unleashes a final, concentrated kick. The proctors are stunned into disbelief, unable to comprehend what happened. The test is declared cleared, one proctor shouting that he actually did it. Jiro unleashes a powerful final strike, the timer at 0. Two proctors look on, utterly shocked by the outcome. Ayakashi fans himself, praising Jiro's fine play with a satisfied smile. Ayakashi muses on how Jiro channeled the Anju into a tangible image. Before Jiro can recover, a new horde of opponents rushes him. The proctors excitedly order the next wave at maximum output, intending to kill him. Jiro, exhausted, mutters that he doesn't have enough power left. A wild-eyed Renri appears, declaring he hasn't had enough rampaging yet. The newcomer grabs Jiro, pulling him back into the fray as a two-man team. They shatter the test record with over 160 kills, stunning the proctors. Ayakashi looks forward to their next real battle, excited by the prospect. Renri laughs, declaring their next fight won't be a test, but a real battle. Ayakashi observes with a smirk, thinking how he dislikes the Anju type, but will use him. A montage shows Jiro passing the test and preparing for the real battle. Jiro is surprised to find himself studying normal subjects like math in a classroom. He muses on the strangeness of being a high school student again. His classmate Renri offers to help him with anything he doesn't understand. Renri gets uncomfortably close, insisting Jiro call him by his first name and snapping a selfie. The bubbly Hashasu photobombs them, while Haishima calls them noisy. The camera-shy Narumoto tries to avoid being in the picture, looking terrified. Jiro wonders what kind of powers these strange new comrades possess. His classmates credit Ayakashi for saving them and bringing them together. Jiro realizes he hasn't thanked Ayakashi yet and offers his sincere gratitude. Ayakashi looks back, acknowledging the Anju-type boy he hates but finds useful. Enjo Kuro observes his two classmates, thinking that the spiky-haired Shin seems a little different today. Leaning in uncomfortably close, Enjo pokes Shin's cheek, accusing him of simply enjoying violence. He concludes that their powers and personalities are fundamentally incompatible and ill-suited for each other. Across the room, Grushikawa Kika, chewing a snack, loudly expresses her displeasure with Enjo's presence. Her face contorts in pure disgust as she complains about another attack-type user joining their class. The classroom erupts into a shouting match as Kika and Enjo trade insults over the desks. Face to face, Enjo declares that he represents justice, while Kika insists he is the embodiment of evil. Two other students watch the familiar argument, noting with amusement that the two are always like this. Their teacher, Aogi-sensei, arrives, cheerfully greeting his students and asking if they are studying hard. Aogi-sensei's expression turns serious as he announces a new mission from the information squad, a Bake Boss incident. He smiles, addressing the spiky-haired boy by his name, Midorishiro. Aogi then informs a shocked Shin that this will be his very first mission. Shin's face is a mask of shock as he processes the news of his first real combat assignment. The teacher explains that a small team is best, to which Shin assumes it will be just him. Aogi stresses that it is impossible for a single person to fight a powerful, malevolent spirit alone. He raises a finger, declaring that teamwork is the absolute ironclad rule of exorcism. Shin looks on, bewildered, repeating the word teamwork as if it's a foreign concept. The three volatile students react with mutual disgust and horror at the idea of working together. Aogi smiles to himself, knowing that despite their incompatibility, this is the only way forward. Shin demands to know who decided on this terrible team composition, his voice filled with outrage. Later, the trio stands awkwardly on a city street, wondering where they are supposed to be. A man points to a massive electronics store, announcing it as the stage for the Bakebaz incident. Shin asks who he is, and the man reveals himself as Aogi, explaining his casual disguise. Inside the store, Aogi is flustered when a clerk asks if he would like to go out for a meal. He panics, stammering that he is currently on a job and must refuse the offer. Overwhelmed by a display of cute merchandise, Aogi's composure shatters and he flees. His students watch him go, wondering what he even came here for in the first place. A woman with glasses, Itahashi, takes over, reporting on the incident and mentioning serious injuries. She explains that Bakebaz need to periodically recharge, making the electronics store an ideal nest. Kika explodes with fury, chewing her snack and absolutely refusing to team up with the two boys. Enjo sneers that Aogi-sensei must love harassing him to have assigned him to this particular team. Kika wails that she is going to miss her idol's livestream and will be forgotten by him. She glares, declaring with venom that she never wanted to become an exorcist in the first place. Shin is shocked by Kika's intense outburst, calling out her name in surprise. Itahashi gives the trio their final orders to sweep the building and purge the Bakebaz. With a determined roar, Shin rallies the team, yelling for them to go and not die. The three enter the vast, eerily empty smartphone section on the first floor of the store. Banners for power strips and other electronic accessories hang above the deserted aisles. Rows of brand new smartphones are displayed on stands, perfectly arranged and untouched. Shin looks at his own phone, noting that being in an electronics store is a novel experience for him. Kika impatiently storms ahead, wanting to finish the mission quickly and go home. A grotesque, slimy monster, once human, appears behind Kika, asking what she wants. Shin starts to shout a warning to Kika as she turns to face the monstrous creature. With a sharp cry, Kika reacts instantly to the threat, her movements a blur. She unleashes her cyber power, a thick, viscous fluid coalescing from her hands. The strange power flows from her, forming an intricate and grotesque weapon. She fully manifests a massive, multi-eyed cannon, naming it the Awakens Mercury Cannon. The cannon fires a powerful blast of energy that slams directly into the monster. As the attack rages, Kika is identified as an obsessive, sticky stalker type of girl. Shin's face is a mask of pure, open-mouthed shock at this stunning revelation. Enjo clarifies for a confused Shin that she is a sticky girl stalker. A collage of images reveals Kika's obsessive online stalking of a band member. Kika screams that she is not a stalker as her power completely obliterates the monster. Enjo murmurs to himself that he now understands the source and nature of her power. Kika stands amidst the dissipating energy, explaining the proper way to use a smartphone. She elaborates that this usage greatly influences the nature of one's cyber power. Covered in her own slimy power, Kika confirms the direct connection with a confident lick of her lips. Shin has a horrified epiphany, realizing his own power is a flame-bait type from his online persona. He shouts in disbelief that all attack-type users must have terrible personalities. The defeated Bakebaz' pixelated remains suddenly begin to reform and multiply. A grotesque, multi-eyed creature lunges at Kika, who shouts its name in alarm. Shin is shocked by the sudden turn of events, staring at the swarm of new monsters. Enjo leaps into action, drawing his sword to intercept an incoming attack. The monster's distorted, pixelated face rushes forward in a chaotic blur of motion. Enjo and Kika stand back to back, their weapons ready, forming a perfect defensive unit. Shin looks on, a blush of surprise on his face as he realizes something profound is happening. Kika declares with fierce intensity that exorcism is, and always will be, about teamwork. Enjo, equally focused and ready for battle, echoes the sentiment with a determined glare. The two launch a perfectly coordinated attack, slicing and blasting their way through the swarm of monsters. They stand poised after their assault, a seamless and deadly duo against the monstrous horde. Shin stares in awe, realizing with a jolt that this is what true exorcism looks like. The floor is littered with defeated spirits as Kika and Enjo turn to face a stunned Shin. The rest of their classmates arrive, with one commenting on how close Enjo just came to dying. Kika, panting from the exertion, glares at Shin, telling him he was the one in danger. The newly arrived students stand ready to provide backup for their exhausted friends. Shin, still processing the fight, exclaims with relief that it was a close call. Enjo and Kika look at each other with a new grudging respect, the immediate fight over. The other classmates celebrate, with one remarking on Kuro's reckless and desperate charge. A wisp of lonely, sad energy drifts through the air, hinting at a deeper sorrow. A horrific scene unfolds in a classroom, with students bleeding from their eyes, crying out in loneliness. A thought bubble recalls a message to Akari at fighting illness, lamenting her extreme loneliness. A skeletal figure, Kei-sama, writhes, having been sought out for 8 long days. A dark-haired man confronts Kei-sama, explaining that he has finally found him. The man's face is shown in profile as he says Kei-sama's name with grim finality. Kei-sama thanks the man Garen for the ecstasy of terror he has provided him. The name Kei-sama echoes with a sinister and foreboding importance. The man and Anabi Mochi suggests they go and visit a cursed village together. Elsewhere, a girl with pigtails insists she is talented enough to fight on her own. She reveals that she fights to earn money for her all-consuming idol obsession. Her ultimate goal is to buy a 10,000 yen ticket for her beloved Shukyu-chan. She declares with fierce passion that she is fighting for the sake of her obsession. With a look of intense determination, she concludes her personal declaration. A young boy with a headband looks on with a blank, utterly bewildered expression. On the 3rd floor, the team argues, with Urashinaga yelling at her teammates to get to work. The headband-wearing boy mutters that her image of what an exorcist is seems different from his. Urashinaga states that she and her attack-type teammates are fundamentally incompatible. Kasumi retorts that she is nothing but a vulgar, shady girl with a bad attitude. He effortlessly parries her attack with his weapon, calling her rude and disrespectful. The headband-wearing boy is amazed that they are fighting amongst themselves in the middle of a mission. The team proceeds to the top floor, the toy section, ready for the final confrontation. A young woman with pigtails and cat ear accessories, Urushikawa, dismissively tells her teammate to stay in the corner and watch. In a toy store aisle, a small girl with a bob haircut, Kirika, stands ominously with her back to the camera. Urashikawa and her dark-haired teammate, Kasumi, confront the small girl, weapons at the ready. Watching from the side, the blonde young man, Suji, mutters a curse under his breath. His expression suddenly shifts to one of wide-eyed shock and horror. Suji cries out in terror at the sight of grotesque, doll-like bodies hanging from the ceiling. Enraged, Urushikawa lunges to attack, declaring she has caught the enemy and will end it. Kirika reveals her monstrous true form, questioning the attack and musing on making her dolls look photogenic. Kasumi's shadowy spirit companion asks if it should acquire a new doll for its collection. Both Urushikawa and Kasumi stare in stunned disbelief at the transformed monster. The monster's wound instantly regenerates in a swirl of pixels, a process she finds bae or photogenic. Kasumi yells for Urushikawa to retreat, disgusted and realizing this is no small fry. Undeterred, Urushikawa defiantly states that she isn't scared and her sticky power cannot be restrained. Suji watches in horror as Kirika's body begins to distort and elongate. Kirika sing-songs about her bae getting bigger as her limbs stretch, enraging Urushikawa. Kasumi manages to drive his weapon directly into Kirika's massive, pixelated eye. Kirika is merely annoyed by the attack, muttering that he's getting on her nerves. She unleashes a powerful shockwave, telling them not to interfere with her. The blast rips through the toy section, destroying everything in a chaotic explosion. Suji and Kasumi are thrown into a pile of stuffed animals, Kasumi lamenting that he's always getting blown away. Suji asks what that was, still thinking it was a low-level curse, but Kasumi tells him he must not have been listening in class. Their quiet analyst confirms they face a monster with special abilities, an intermediate class threat. He grimly concludes that a direct confrontation now would mean the annihilation of their entire team. As if on cue, Kirika's slimy tendrils snatch Urushikawa, who screams in pure terror. The monster taunts her captured prey, asking who the ugly one is now. She continues her mockery, pleased with how photogenic the scene is. Suji is paralyzed with fear, realizing this threat is on a completely different level. He stares at the monster's massive eye, understanding the immense danger they are in. Kasumi orders Suji to run away first. He states that once he retrieves Urushikawa, he will make a swift escape. He tells Suji not to think about fighting alongside him, as he can't fight while worrying about the demon fire. Suji grits his teeth, his face a mask of determined fury. Kasumi notes that his attacks aren't working as the monster just regenerates. He grimly observes that he just keeps hitting her and she keeps regenerating. With a furious roar, he charges, demanding Kirika return the handbag of justice and vowing to decapitate the photogenic brat. He bleeds from his arm but grins ferociously, declaring a blood boost will increase his own bay. He unleashes a swirling vortex of pixelated fire that slams into Kirika's eye. The attack blasts through the monster's head, causing a visceral explosion. Inspired by Kasumi's charge, Suji roars, declaring that exorcism is teamwork. He asks if Kasumi knows this simple truth. His hands ignite with pixelated flames as he shouts the phrase. He screams that he's a nuisance too, so he doesn't care about the risk. Kirika reels from the attack but yells for them to retrieve Urushikawa. She shrieks in a frenzy, her photogenic desires reaching a fever pitch. She unleashes another, more powerful shockwave, telling them to run and not get in her way. A heavy metal security shutter slams down with a deafening clang. The team is trapped, with Suji staring at the shutter as Urushikawa yells for them to hide. In the ruined store, Kasumi asks what to do, while Suji asks if he was of any use. Kasumi grimly admits that if he had been alone, he would have been finished, and asks what Suji would have done. Kasumi's eyes widen as he notices something strange. Suji is startled by Kasumi's sudden shift in demeanor. Kasumi warns Suji not to get close as a pixelated fire erupts from his hand. In a flash, Kasumi slams Suji against a shelf, pressing the fiery hand to his chest. Suji screams in terror, seeing the cursed Onabi on his phone and chest. He is frozen in place, expecting a fatal blow. His eyes widen in utter shock as he realizes something is wrong. He touches the fire, questioning why he isn't being harmed by the Onabi. He recalls that the cursed flame is supposed to drain the life from any living thing it touches. He looks at Kasumi, confused, wondering why he isn't dead. Urushikawa points to the fallen monster, telling him to look. Suji sees Kirika's wounds sizzling, realizing the Onabi is preventing her from regenerating. Kasumi explains that in the spirit world, the concept of yin and yang reverses the effects of their powers. He clarifies that Suji's Onabi is harmless to the living. However, for the dead, it becomes a life-stealing poison. He compares it to using a healing spell on an undead enemy in a video game. Suji is stunned, a bead of sweat on his face as he processes the information. He realizes his flame isn't Onabi, but a power that makes demons weep. A powerful image shows his true power. Onibian, the demon fire blaze, incinerating spirits. Suji's face breaks into a huge, goofy grin as he exclaims how cool that is. Kasumi just gives him a deadpan, unimpressed look, questioning his reaction. The team regroups on the 7th floor as Kasumi asks what their next move is. Suji, full of renewed confidence, declares he came here to get stronger and that retreating is for idiots. Kasumi mutters under his breath, calling Suji a fool. Kirika gloats that they have no chance of winning against a mid-level Bakejo like her. Suji, with a feral grin, asks if they truly have a chance to win. Kasumi matches his energy with a smirk, declaring that their victory is already decided and telling him not to be rude. He asks the battered Urushikawa if she's okay, and she insists she's fine. He states that he won't let them die so easily. Kirika taunts them, challenging the photogenic kids to come out and be killed. Suji lunges forward, snarling that she called for him. Kirika recognizes his power, noting that his Onabian nullifies her regeneration. Kasumi declares his role. He will punch a hole in her while Suji attacks. The two boys attack in tandem, a blur of motion as they hammer that spot. Kirika is struck by the coordinated assault. Suji smirks, commenting on Kasumi's nasty personality, but acknowledging his power, yelling for him to burn the monster. Kirika retaliates with a ferocious spinning attack, sending both of them flying. She looms over them, gloating that she won't let them have their masterpiece of a victory. Pointing to a Plamadol corner sign, she vows to reassemble them as a grotesque trophy. Her swirling hypnotic eyes gleam with what she calls a creative desire, an illumination art of blood and flesh. The grotesque threat terrifies Suji. A strange memory of getting a haircut at a Yakuza office fuels Suji's battle frenzy. He cackles, his eyes wide with delight, declaring, "This is the best." Kasumi mutters Suji's nickname, Kuga, under his breath. Kirika is thrilled by his sadism, admitting it gives her the same thrill as making a 5-year-old cry. Her phone, lying discarded on the floor, suddenly lights up. A notification appears. Official Yami Duji has started a live stream. Kirika freezes mid-battle and bolts with incredible speed. The boys are left stumbling in her wake, Suji marveling at her speed. She's in a full-blown panic, scrambling for her phone. She shrieks that she has to be the first one to send a donation. In a burst of chaotic energy, a grotesque, multi-eyed creature wails, announcing the start of its favorite streamer's conference. The blonde exorcist Inju is shocked, realizing the livestream has begun, while his dark-haired teammate, Midorishiro, looks on grimly. Panicked, the creature laments that it will miss being the first to send a super chat donation. A pigtail-haired girl, Urushikawa, explodes with fury, demanding to know how the creature will take responsibility if she's forgotten by her idol. Inju cries out Urushikawa's name in alarm as she confronts the monster. The monster, now swarmed by smaller slime creatures, yells at them to get out of its way. Completely incensed, Urushikawa screams at the small fry to get lost. Anjo leaps into action, his foot wreathed in pixelated flames as he unleashes a flame boost enhancement kick. Midorishiro brings his ornate staff down with crushing force, declaring the attack a handbag of justice. Urushikawa, trying to send her own donation, accuses the monster of using her idol's name to flirt. Believing a comment is from her beloved Kurenai, she shyly thanks him for the attention. Her face contorts in rage as she demands to know who her opponent is. Screaming at her foe not to use her idol to flirt, she unleashes a massive blast of power. The powerful attack engulfs Inju, catching him in the chaotic crossfire. A wisp of pixelated flame emanates from Anju's phone as he begins to recover. Battered but exhilarated, Anju grins with manic delight, finding the entire situation incredible. He asks if Urushikawa has a bad personality, suggesting even the self-righteous Midorishiro must be enjoying the fight. Midorishiro coldly retorts that he alone embodies justice and tells them to get lost. Standing back to back, Midorishiro and Enju share a moment of silent, grudging understanding. Midorishiro observes that all three of them have terrible personalities, using crude language to make his point. Elsewhere, a woman in a suit reports the loss of contact with their teacher, worrying about the students fighting alone. Despite her concerned words, a small, excited smile reveals her true feelings about the unfolding chaos. Inju's hand is shown, crackling with the energy of his flame-type power. The ornate head of Midorishiro's striking-type weapon is highlighted. Urushikawa's gooey, powerful adhesion-type ability clings to her leg. Their enemy's face distorts in terror, realizing it faces the three great annoyance types as it begs for forgiveness. Urushikawa and her companions are labeled as the worst. The worst three launch a perfectly coordinated final assault on the glitching monster. Their defeated foe laments its uncool demise at the hands of such brats. As it fades away, the monster questions if it's really disappearing, finding the experience incredibly cool. The last wisp of the creature's form dissipates into nothingness. The trio stands together amidst the wreckage, their enemy completely vanquished. Anju asks if they really won, while Midorishiro confirms the kill with a quiet, "We defeated it." Kagurite glares at her teammate, complaining that the painful battle was the absolute worst. Battered and bruised, Inju wears a blissful smile, admitting the fight felt incredible. His two teammates, Midorishiro and Kagurite, look on with grim, exhausted expressions. Looking up from the ground, Anju appears dazed by the aftermath of the fight. Midorishiro leans in close, telling Anju to admit he is a vulgar person. Inju looks down, unable to bring himself to deny the harsh accusation. A memory of Inju's chaotic past as a streamer confirms Midorishiro's assessment. Looking at the ruined store, Inju finally acknowledges to himself that he enjoyed it. "I'm scum," he admits, and his two teammates immediately agree with the statement. Midorishiro explains that being scum makes one suited for exorcism, as others would break. Anju looks on, his expression unreadable as he absorbs this strange logic. Kagurite angrily tells Midorishiro that Inju's self-awareness is better than his feigned justice. Surprised by their bickering, Inju looks between his two strange new teammates. Midorishiro warns Kagurite about more training, and she offers him a snack. A wide, enthusiastic grin spreads across Anju's face, seeing this new dynamic. The trio throws their fists in the air, with Anju roaring that the mission is complete. They walk through the ruined store, Midorishiro feeling guilty while Kagurite livestreams. Midorishiro lectures Inju on the pathetic loneliness that created their enemy. With a look of empathy, Inju asks what's so lonely about that. Suddenly, Midorishiro and Kagurite's eyes begin weeping thick, black, glitching tears. Inju's eyes widen in pure, unadulterated terror at the horrifying sight. His two teammates collapse lifelessly onto the floor amidst the store's debris. The last remnants of their defeated foe, Akari, dissipate into pixelated smoke. Anju stands frozen in the ruined toy corner, staring at his fallen friends. His eyes widen in shock as he confronts a mysterious new figure. The true enemy, Sabishigaria no Kei, appears, his own eyes weeping black tears. The psychic shock of Kei's arrival violently assaults Anju's mind. A horrifying vision of his dead teammates flashes before his eyes. He grits his teeth in anguish, his mind screaming with grief and rage. Desperately, he reaches a hand out towards his fallen comrades. His hand clenches around his phone as his latent power begins to surge. With a furious roar, he unleashes a massive, uncontrolled torrent of demonic fire. The raw, fiery blast of his grief hurtles directly towards the new enemy. An explosive blast of energy erupts from the ground with immense force. In a chaotic clash, Midorishiro Tsuji and his opponent trade powerful blows. Midorishiro lets out a sound of pained disbelief. He questions his opponent, Enichiro Tsuji, about his surprising resilience. Staring in shock, Midorishiro realizes his foe is completely unharmed. Suddenly, a horrifying psychic attack causes black, glitchy tears to erupt from Midorishiro's eyes. A close-up on his eye reveals the sheer terror of this unseen assault. A choked, agonized sound escapes him as he is completely overwhelmed. Collapsing, he frantically demands to know what's happening and how Enichiro knows his name. His confusion is quickly consumed by rage as he decides the reasons no longer matter. Seeing a photo of his sister, Akari, he tries to force his paralyzed body to move. Enichiro, his own eyes weeping black tears, coldly remarks on Akari's lonely state. With chilling detachment, Enichiro admits he killed Akari to make Midorishiro's fight meaningless. Midorishiro struggles desperately, trying to move even a single finger in defiance. His face a mask of pure hatred, he vows that he will kill his tormentor. Enichiro calmly lectures him, identifying his powerful emotion as mirin, or lingering regret. Midorishiro lunges forward, his attack now fueled by this very regret. Enichiro explains that with enough mirin, one can be reborn even after death. A close-up on Midorishiro's eye reveals his fierce, unwavering determination. An elegant fan with a koi fish design appears, shocking the battered Midorishiro. The fan effortlessly deflects the massive fiery blast, sending it flying harmlessly away. As the attack dissipates, the newcomer calmly asks Enichiro who he is. Enichiro, his face distorted, repeats the question, demanding to know the man's identity. The newcomer's polished shoes step forward as he introduces himself as an exorcist. Holding a clump of hair, he powerfully declares himself to be the teacher of these children. The scene reveals the teacher, Aogi Kimimaru, standing protectively amidst the chaos. Midorishiro's face floods with relief as he cries out his teacher's name. The entity possessing Enichiro, Kei, mockingly acknowledges Aogi as Midorishiro's teacher. Kei's attention is suddenly ripped away by the sight of his two comrades lying defeated. A close-up reveals the unconscious forms of Kasuba and Urishigawa. Moving with blinding speed, Kei rushes toward his fallen friends, a blur of motion. Aogi calmly explains that Kei's friends are fine. He simply called out to them. Hearing this, Midorishiro whispers with profound relief, glad that his friends are safe. A spiky-haired boy's face contorts in pure shock as his mind seemingly glitches out. Overcome with guilt, the teacher apologizes for his negligence as a student warns him of Kei standing behind. A student-made EMP device on the floor activates, creating a mini barrier to freeze everyone. The EMP's energy wave expands, stunning the teacher and his students into stillness. Digital tears stream from Kei's glitching face as he murmurs about his loneliness. The teacher, Aoba, gently pats his student Midorishiro's head, praising him for holding on. Midorishiro laments his powerlessness, but Aoba insists that the boy did not break. With a confident look, Aoba tells Midorishiro that he hasn't lost yet. Midorishiro looks up at his teacher, his eyes filled with a new, tearful determination. Aoba declares he will handle the rest, summoning a massive ethereal koi fish behind him. Midorishiro stares in utter disbelief, barely able to whisper the word koi. Aoba holds his fan, his expression calm and focused before the coming battle. He leaps into action alongside the magnificent creature, his brave koi. With a powerful motion, Aoba prepares to extinguish the fireworks of the battle. He unleashes a wave of purifying energy, determined to put an end to the fight. The room erupts in a massive cloud of dust and debris from the impact. The enemy, Kei, muses that killing this teacher might strengthen the boy's lingering attachments. Aoba dodges gracefully as Kei's chaotic energy swirls around him in a high-speed clash. The students watch, mesmerized as their teacher weaves through a series of rapid attacks. Midorishiro realizes he can't even follow his teacher's movements, stunned by his speed. He exclaims in shock that his teacher is on a completely different level of power. His friend Urushibara marvels at Sensei's cyber power, but Midorishiro corrects him. Midorishiro explains Aoba-sensei can't use cyber power. He's converting his own spiritual energy. He laments that for an analog human, digitizing power is an immense burden. Aoba coolly confirms his student's assessment is correct. A flashback shows students saying a new age exorcist can't be an old-timer. Kei unleashes a massive blast of chaotic digital energy toward Aoba. The attack is a maelstrom of dark power and glitching digital artifacts. Urashibara panics, explaining a traditionalist's power drops significantly when digitized. Kei's attack barrels toward Aoba, who remains composed amidst the onslaught. The overwhelming power seems destined to consume him completely. Blood streams from Aoba's eyes, but his gaze is filled with fierce determination. Midorishiro looks on in horror, but Urashibara tells him not to worry. Aoba stands firm, radiating an aura of immense spiritual power. With a sharp gaze, he declares it's time to dance. He dons a mask, declaring that the original is the strongest cheat. He unleashes his ultimate technique, the brave koi silver-scale tricolor. A flashback shows a younger Aoba, a genius exorcist who retired mysteriously. His student, Urashibara, admits that as irritating as it is, he can't imagine Sensei losing. Another student, a girl with pigtails, begrudgingly agrees with this assessment. Midorishiro watches the incredible display of power with wide-eyed awe. Kei, his form glitching, makes a final, desperate leap to counter the attack. Aoba looks down, lamenting that he has become an old man who hates losing his hair. Midorishiro stares in disbelief, realizing his teacher just made a joke mid-battle. A massive explosion marks the end of the clash, leaving the room in ruins. Aoba looks around, realizing his opponent has vanished, and mutters a quiet "no." He looks out the window to see a colossal whale has helped his enemy escape. Aboard the whale, Kei's companion reports they were pulled into the Garen net. Kei's form is unstable, his battery nearly depleted, and he struggles to move. A skeletal being, Kei-sama, smiles, pleased with his loyal servant. Kei vows to solve the problem of his temporary body for his master's sake. He envisions the completion of their ultimate goal, the land of avatars. Back in the ruined room, the students realize Kei wasn't even at full strength. Midorishiro curses, shocked that his enemy was fighting in a low power mode. Urashibara grimly states this was their only chance, a painful missed opportunity. Aoba shatters the gloom with a laugh, pulling his students into a tight hug. Midorishiro whispers that he's alive, a profound sense of relief washing over him. Aoba gives a thumbs up, promising his students that next time they will win. Midorishiro looks at his teacher with admiration and a newfound resolve. Urashibara announces he has a new goal, to aim to be like Aoba-sensei. A flustered Aoba waves it off, insisting he's just an old-timer. Midorishiro clenches his fist, his eyes burning as he echoes the sentiment. The three battered students look on, their spirits renewed by their teacher's actions. Aoba gathers his students, telling them it's time to return to their school. A social media profile for Sabishigaria Kei shows its follower count steadily rising. In a grand hall, a group of faculty members sits in a tense, silent circle. The faculty is revealed to be having a meeting in a hot spring foot bath. The headmistress, Yabumi Kyoko, demands a report on why Kei appeared. Her attendant, Aogaki, complains that his feet are getting too hot in the water. Aogaki teases the headmistress about getting wrinkles when she's angry. A blonde teacher remarks that Aogaki is surprisingly good with the headmistress. A flamboyant student asks for the reason Kei appeared, wanting the meeting to end. Aogaki explains that Kei targeted Midorishiro Tsuji because they share the same power. A severe-looking woman with glasses, Minami, listens intently to the explanation. A flashback shows Kei's intent to kill Midorishiro and transform him into a Bakejo. The faculty members are stunned into silence by this shocking revelation. A bald monk-like teacher asks why Kei would want to recruit Midorishiro. The headmistress scoffs, questioning why the school should even get involved. Minami's hand is shown as she discusses how to handle Midorishiro Tsuji. Minami agrees, suggesting they leave Kei alone and instead deal with Midorishiro. Aogaki leaps up, splashing water as he protests the idea of punishing his student. He declares with fierce loyalty that Midorishiro is now his student to protect. Aogaki admits he's quite angry, aware that the head of information knew about this. A nervous student apologizes for the error in their intelligence report. Minami states that Midorishiro's flame is for murder, making him a killer. The headmistress agrees with Minami, but acknowledges Aogaki's resolve. She gives Aogaki a chilling ultimatum. She will extinguish the spark if he fails. Aogaki remains silent, accepting the heavy responsibility placed upon him. He and Midorishiro walk through the academy's corridors, the building looming over them. Midorishiro complains that Aogaki has been repeating himself since the battle. He is still buzzing with excitement, his entire body tingling from the fight. Aogaki walks ahead, admitting to himself that he understands his students' feelings. They arrive at the nurse's office and Midorishiro barges in without knocking. They are greeted by their pigtail-haired companion, Urashikawa, in a camisole. Midorishiro stammers an apology, completely flustered by the unexpected sight. Urushikawa, equally flustered, yells at him not to look at her bare skin. She demands to know why he's so energetic after the intense battle. A flashy blonde woman introduces herself as the school nurse, Takachiho Miku. She cheerfully greets Midorishiro, saying she didn't notice him before. Miku asks him to look straight ahead so she can take his picture. She roughly grabs his face, demanding he show her his creepy cute expression. With a bright smile, a young woman named Miku holds up her phone, cheerfully announcing it's time to work. She unleashes her power, cybernetic output, manifesting a cherub and a host of digital tools. A close-up reveals the scratched forehead and determined eyes of a battered young man, Aoi. A digital effect passes over Aori's eyes as the healing power begins to take effect. Energy from Miku's phone washes over him, a powerful wave of digital light. The onomatopoeia for reflection, Hane, flashes across the screen, indicating the power's interaction. Aori clutches his head, amazed as pixelated squares appear on his healing skin. He marvels that Den-no power can heal, while a girl with pigtails, Urushikawa, thanks their teacher. Miku calmly states that healing is meaningless without purpose, though it's tough when there's no meaning. Aori and his serious-looking dark-haired companion, Kasuga, observe the scene. Wearing his headband, Aori processes the events with a quiet, thoughtful expression. Amidst the chaos of the nurse's office, Aori complains about being photographed for medical purposes. Aori stares at his hand, watching the last trace of his injury vanish in a faint glow. He clenches his fist with quiet resolve, preparing for what's next. A boy with headphones, Narimoto, holds up a small doll, welcoming back the 3 healed students. The group gathers in the nurse's office, discussing the tough battle and Miku's impressive healing. Narimoto gets uncomfortably close to Aori, teasing him for being scared of a flame user. Aori's expression hardens into a glare, his patience wearing thin from the constant teasing. With a sharp gasp, his composure finally snaps. He explodes, apologizing for his outburst before ranting that everyone in the school is a weirdo. The group walks together, the other students wondering where the 3 of them are going. A small, cute doll-like character is perched comically on Narimoto's head. Kasuga states that this is training, noting that they need a little more time. A girl with her hair in a high ponytail says she feels no sense of obligation. Urushikawa seethes, declaring she can't even remember being attacked and vowing to show her true persistence. Aoi is haunted by the memory of a girl dying before him, a pain he never wants to feel again. Miku smiles sweetly, telling Aoi she doesn't dislike his youthful spirit, and asks for his receiver. The students find their power levels are critically low, and Urushikawa points out that training now is pointless. Aoi is shocked to learn that rest is a required part of their training. In a modern gym, the students push their physical bodies to the absolute limit. A guttural scream of pure effort echoes as Aoi struggles with a push-up. He roars that even if he can't do cybernetic training, he can still do muscle training. A smiling student teases Narimoto, who looks shocked about coming back from the dead. From a balcony, a dark-haired teacher, Araragi, watches his students, thinking that if things can't be undone, he will be there. His expression hardens as he quietly vows to kill a certain individual. In a faculty meeting, Araragi argues that Aoi is essential to the academy, even if it's not ideal. The group is back in the gym, with a student marveling at the intensity of Aori's training. Araragi smiles, confidently thinking that his students will undoubtedly grow stronger. In a lounge, a light-haired girl, Midori, asks Kasuga if he's thinking about combat training. Aoi confirms this, explaining that he was thinking about their last battle. He recalls his kinetic vision being unable to keep up with his own power, frustrating him. With a fiery look, he declares he wants to witness his opponent's strength and asks them to be his training partner. Kasuga is distracted, staring at his phone in annoyance and complaining about someone. He scrolls through a social media feed, incensed by a food blogger's uninspired post. He declares it an act of justice to correct such evil on the internet, and that he must go. Kasuga mutters that the way the blogger uses their receiver feels unpleasant to him. Aoi points out that Kasuga still knows nothing about him, a comment Kasuga ignores. Taking a calm sip of tea, Kasuga remarks that the day's routine is over and the tea is soothing. Aoi blurts out that he heard Kasuga used to be a delinquent, causing him to spit out his tea. Midori teases Kasuga about his past, while Aoi notes he saw Kasuga's tattoos at the onsen. Midori shows Aoi a picture of a younger, tougher-looking Kasuga with his delinquent friends. Aoi is amazed, realizing Kasuga wasn't the honor student he appeared to be. Kasuga, flustered, insists they were just from a different group he belonged to. Aori looks on, his perception of his stoic classmate completely shattered. A fire ignites in his eyes as he declares he wants to know more about Kasuga and everyone else. Midori looks at Kasuga, about to ask him a question about his past. She asks why Kasuga, who seems to dislike flame types, came to the academy. Eri interrupts, single-mindedly focused on combat training, and sets off to find a more suitable partner. He walks down a corridor, wondering where his target could be. In the school store, he triumphantly finds his opponent, a large, cute mascot doll sitting on a shelf. He's bewildered that this tiny doll is the formidable Haishima, a close combat specialist. Kasuga approaches another doll on a shelf, asking why it's ignoring him. Eri turns to see that the aisle is filled with dozens of identical dolls. He stares in disbelief, wondering if Haishima has somehow multiplied. One of the dolls playfully taps him, and he yells out Haishima's name in shock. The doll introduces itself as Denmi-chan, the Academy's official character, explaining that it's just being possessed. The doll's long, cartoonish tongue shoots out, declaring its desire for a real-world version of itself. The real Haishima is in their dorm room, remotely controlling the doll with an arcade stick. The doll asks Ori if he wants to do combat training, seeing it as a chance to settle a score. In a training dojo, a giant Denmi-chan doll announces the start of round 1. Eri is wary, pointing at the doll with a look of caution. He laughs, dismissing his opponent as just a cute mascot. The doll's face contorts in rage as it lunges forward, ready to beat him senseless. Ori is swarmed by a horde of smaller dolls, pummeling him from all sides. He grits his teeth in pain, caught completely off guard by the relentless assault. Narumoto reveals Haishima's secret. They are a top-tier esports player. The narration emphasizes that Haishima's specialty is fighting games. Haishima's goal is to fight the strongest opponents and become the ultimate real-life gamer. Kasuga holds his phone, telling Haishima to apologize for underestimating Aori. Aori, battered but not broken, unleashes his Denno output, getting serious. The Denmi-chan doll leaps back, announcing that it too will now get serious. Aori's power manifests as a shadowy, pixelated puppeteer, a waste human marionette. He stares in amazement at his newfound ability to control his avatar with precision. He notes that with this, he can perfectly sync his vision with the doll, which lies defeated. The doll transforms into a massive, muscular mecha, announcing itself as Denmi-chan Battle Type. Round 2, fight! The mecha stands ready as Aori declares it's no longer cute, but easier to crush. He charges forward, unleashing a powerful flame boost attack. His attack is instantly thwarted by the mecha's fist, a one-hit counter flashing on screen. Iori is sent flying, his face a mask of pure shock. He is caught in a devastating 5-hit combo, pummeled relentlessly across the arena. He can't comprehend the mecha's reaction speed, his moves being blocked before he can even make them. The narration explains that for a pro gamer, a fraction of a second decides life or death. Aori is completely overwhelmed, his face a portrait of desperation and super reaction. The mecha doll sees an opening, declaring that Aori is still lacking something. Aori screams in frustration, wondering what it is that he's missing. The mecha's chest opens, revealing a glowing core as it prepares a final attack. A brilliant flash of light erupts from the core. The energy blast slams into Aori's avatar, resulting in a devastating KO. Lying defeated on the floor, Aori mutters the words, "Special move." He struggles to his feet, but his eyes burn with respect as he asks Haishima to be his master. A muscular, cybernetic figure helps a fallen comrade to his feet as Midorishiro looks on. Walking down a traditional corridor, Midorishiro feels he is on the verge of a breakthrough. He ponders his mysterious teammate, Haishima, picturing a stereotypical gamer hunched over a controller. As he rounds a corner, he is startled when he collides with someone, sending them falling. A flustered girl with glasses dressed in a yukata stammers out a stream of apologies. Midorishiro apologizes back just as his classmate, Urashikawa, arrives and recognizes the fallen girl. Urashikawa helps the girl to her feet, asking if the bumping old man is all right. She consoles the girl, calling her by her full name, Haishima Hiyori, revealing her identity. Midorishiro is stunned, stammering, "Master?" as Hiyori's gaming avatar flashes in his mind. Now revealed, Hiyori looks away, deeply embarrassed and flustered by the unexpected encounter. Urashikawa leads the mortified Haishima away, who still seems shaken by the whole ordeal. Midorishiro is left speechless, trying to process the shocking truth about his powerful teammate. He finally understands that Haishima is an ultimate gamer, but is also extremely shy. A phone notification from his teacher, Aogaki, announces the start of the K extermination plan. Midorishiro leaps to his feet, his face a mask of shock at the sudden news. He shouts his teacher's name, his motivation to avenge his sister Akari reigniting fiercely. In a formal classroom, the headmaster confirms that the K extermination plan is now official. A serious student recalls that the association has attempted this operation twice before and failed both times. This time, however, they will not fail, as they are refining their strategies and personnel. The Spirit Medium Association in Dendu Academy will combine their full strength to finally eliminate K. A student asks about K's location, and another explains the intel team is analyzing server data. Once a definitive judgment is made, the operation will commence, likely around the end of the year. A calendar showing October 23rd reveals they have roughly 2 months to prepare for the mission. Midorishiro clenches his fist, vowing to become stronger and be the one to end it this time. A smug classmate cheerfully informs Midorishiro that he is not permitted to participate in the mission. The student explains that only first-rank members can join, and Midorishiro's class is a lower rank. A serious-looking student interjects, stating that an exception can be made for those with necessary abilities. Midorishiro frantically asks how to get recognized, learning the answer is the upcoming Kawatsu-sen. With a new goal, he is fired up, his avatar companion cheering as he demands training begin. The scene shifts to teamwork training as Midorishiro and his teammates run through a dense forest. A hulking eye-patch-wearing opponent bursts from the foliage, and Midorishiro cannot pinpoint his location. Before the enemy can strike, Midorishiro's friend with headphones shouts for him not to move. The friend holds up an old MP3 player, channeling his power through the music to defend them. In the midst of a fierce battle, a young man with headphones unleashes a defensive ability. A shimmering hexagonal energy shield, the Wall of Nirvana, materializes to block a powerful attack. His teammate, a boy with a headband, stares in awe at the protective barrier. Grateful for the save, the boy thanks his friend, who responds with a look of annoyance. The headphone-wearing boy angrily accuses his friend of underestimating him, revealing his own insecurities. Suddenly, a massive hulking opponent smashes through the weakened wall as it dissolves. The boys dive out of the way, screaming in terror as their defense crumbles. Their team leader shouts for them to split up and run for cover behind a large tree. They are quickly outmaneuvered and find themselves completely surrounded by 3 of the formidable enemies. A tiny, cute mascot character appears on the headband-wearing boy's head, declaring him the team's brain. From a distance, a handsome blonde student manipulates floating picture frames, observing the battle. He smugly remarks that his picture window ability is far less embarrassing than his peers. The team leader scoffs at the boast, clearly unimpressed by the display of power. The mascot transforms into a full-sized, adorable version of herself, striking a pose. She declares that with her cuteness, she can pacify everyone and make them get along. The boy with the headband is completely bewildered by the strange and sudden transformation. The entire eccentric team, the Otsugumi, is shown gathered in the woods for training. One student offers a hand, seemingly offering guidance to a figure who appears to be a teacher. Walking together through a clearing, the headband-wearing boy feels a sense of belonging with his comrades. Later, during a solo training exercise, he is overwhelmed and thrown back by a swarm of enemies. He collapses to the forest floor, panting and completely drained from the intense effort. His hand brushes against a delicate cat-eared hairpin, a memento that strengthens his resolve. Clutching the precious object, he blushes with renewed determination, vowing to do his best. A spiky-haired young man with sunglasses suddenly appears, snatching the pin from his hand. The boy is left shocked and flustered by the sudden appearance of the mysterious stranger. With a sharp-toothed grin, the stranger identifies him as the famous Midorishiro Tsuji. The stranger, Geniro, remarks that he understands his feelings and that he'll keep going until he collapses. He turns back to the stunned boy, declaring that they are the same. The boy's eyes widen in shock as he asks if Geniro also lost his family to Kei. Geniro confirms this with a small knowing smile, his sunglasses glinting. He claims the hairpin is a memento of his own sister, who loved cat ear accessories. He recalls how she wore it constantly, saying it's the one thing that reminds him of her. Tears stream from Geniro's eyes as he acknowledges how precious such a memento is. A delicate cat-eared hairpin is offered between 2 hands, with a voice suggesting it be returned. The hairpin suddenly erupts in a burst of pixelated flames, forcing one boy to recoil in shock. Heat washes over the blonde-haired boy, his uniform smoldering as he cries out in pained surprise. The attacker's voiceover remarks that it was simply too much fun to resist unleashing the flame. With a manic grin, the red-haired youth reveals he is also a flame type, just like his shocked opponent. The last remnants of the precious hairpin turn to ash and drift away on the wind. As the boy frantically tries to catch the last of the ashes, his enemy taunts him to take it. A soft, poignant memory of a smiling young girl, Akari, flashes in the blonde boy's mind. Kneeling on the ground, the boy is taunted by his foe, who asks if he will get angry or cry. Tears of pure anguish stream down the boy's face as he demands to know why this was done. His tormentor is ecstatic at the reaction, gleefully noting that the boy is now crying and angry. The red-haired youth revels in the chaos while the blonde boy screams that he doesn't understand. His enemy savors the blend of emotions, calling the boy's suffering a supreme side dish. The blonde boy, his face a mask of rage, declares that he understands his foe is just picking a fight. His tormentor looks on, pleased as the boy finally shows his furious expression. Leaning in close, the red-haired youth whispers that the look of pain just makes him want to bully him more. The blonde boy lunges with a roar, but his teammates, including a small doll, hold him back. His foe mocks the small doll as the blonde boy's friends worry about the escalating danger. The doll-like creature declares that the red-haired youth is the absolute worst kind of human. The red-haired boy takes a step forward, his narration continuing. His entire intimidating team, the members of Class A, assembles behind him. The small doll on the blonde boy's shoulder warns that their next opponent is the worst possible one. The two opposing teams, Class A and Class B, face off in the forest clearing. The rival team's members are interrupted by the small doll, who warns them of the danger. The serious, bespectacled representative of Class A, Kasuga, observes with a faint smirk. Kasuga formally dismisses the other class, stating that they will meet again later. The blonde boy, Hasumi, looks on with a mixture of anger and confusion. Hasumi explodes with defiance, demanding a chance to land a single punch before any talking happens. With a cry of cyber power output, its component placement, Hasumi unleashes a torrent of demon fire blaze from his hand. The red-haired youth is thrilled by the challenge, his face lighting up as he eagerly accepts the fight. A girl with long dark hair swings a massive fan-like blade, intervening in the fiery attack. Kasuga calmly parries her blade with his own glowing, pixelated sword, protecting his teammate. Hasumi is stunned, wondering what just happened as his attack is thwarted and the fight escalates. Laughing boisterously, Wagari Minoru praises youthful passion, then sternly forbids fighting outside designated areas. From a grassy field, a tiny doll-like creature named Aori-chan points accusingly, shouting that the other party started it by burning her sister's memento. The wild-eyed Suigiri Day, with a manic shark-toothed grin, declares that his reward for this provocation will be a good, long fight. The blonde-haired Midorishiro glares up in fury from where he's been knocked to the ground as a dark-haired girl, Kusaba, looks down with a blush. Kusaba shyly asks if it's okay to call him by his first name, pleading with him not to misunderstand her innocent intentions. Uwada Iko, a flamboyant young man, becomes flustered as Kusaba leans against him, protesting that her chest is pressing into him. The coolly detached Ashina Ban frames the chaotic scene with his fingers, dismissing the entire affair as the folly of youth. Adding to the absurdity, a girl named Namerikawa Kiri sings a nonsensical song about bananas in the color yellow. Midorishiro can only glare at the bizarre assembly of his rivals from Class A, wondering what is wrong with them. The bespectacled swordsman, Kasuga, is startled as he senses the escalating tension between the two opposing groups. The hammer-wielding Wagari clashes his weapon against Kasuga's sword, their personal battle erupting with explosive force. Wagari shouts that he won't allow Kasuga to bully his flame-type teammate. Kusaba, blushing intensely, stammers that her feelings for Kasuga are genuine and not some kind of misunderstanding. Kasuga sneers back at Wagari, remarking on his unchanged violent tendencies and questioning his fitness as a class representative. A hand clutches a smartphone, from which crackling digital energy begins to emerge, ready to be unleashed. Sugiri unleashes his cyber power, Onibi Doping, which erupts from his body in a fiery, pixelated torrent. In a clear provocation, members of Class A flip and leap acrobatically through the forest clearing. Two of their female teammates comment on the jump, one cheekily asking if he was trying to pose like a shrimp. Sugiri gets right in his rival's face, his expression one of pure glee as he declares he can't hold back his excitement. He and another student from Class A chase each other through the forest, their taunts and provocations escalating. Kasuga dryly observes that flame types never listen, asking Wagari if they are both having a hard time controlling their members. A girl with a high ponytail holds a small doll of Suigiri, proudly declaring that while he may be scum, he's her cute scum. The members of Class A stand together, while Kasuga smugly addresses the pigtail-wearing Urashigawa. Urashigawa launches a venomous personal attack on Kusaba, calling her a landmine girl and mocking her for trying to attract men. With a sweet but cutting smile, Kusaba retorts that Urashigawa's own fashion is super lame. Sugiri's fiery attack clashes with an unseen force, creating a powerful explosion that ripples through the air. With a manic grin, Sugiri warns that his Onabi doping will do far more than just break bones if it connects. He unleashes his Serpent Song Flame Scorch, a terrifying storm of burning skulls and a spectral dragon. Midorishiro is stunned, realizing with dawning horror that Sugiri is generating real, untamed fire without a device. Sugiri goads Midorishiro, telling him to get more scared and angry from the intense heat of his real fire. The two rivals move with incredible speed, their figures becoming blurs as they charge at each other through the forest. Sugiri prepares to show Midorishiro the true devastating outcome of their impending class battle. A member of Class A declares with manic glee that this will be an overwhelming victory for their side. Their confidence is simple. They believe their individual performance and abilities are just fundamentally superior. Hanazumi, a member of Class B, looks on, calling his rival a coward. Midorishiro seethes with rage, calling Class A a bunch of out-of-touch small fry and utter garbage. His anger focuses entirely on Suigiri, declaring that he's the only one who matters now. He roars at Suigiri, accusing him of trampling on people's feelings and defiling the precious memory of his sister Akari. In his fury, Midorishiro's own hand ignites with a pure white flame. He lunges forward and grabs Suigiri by the collar, roaring at him not to look down on Class B. The members of Class B look on, a mixture of concern and grim resolve on their faces. For the first time, a flicker of genuine shock crosses the cocky Suigiri's face. Just as they are about to come to blows, Kasuga steps between the two rivals, shouting for them to stop. Midorishiro is startled by the sudden intervention, his furious momentum brought to a halt. In the devastated forest, Kasuga formally apologizes to Midorishiro's group for Suigiri's many rudenesses. With his apology complete, Kasuga announces that he has something important to say to them all. He delivers the ultimate insult with a bright, cheerful smile, declaring that they are all in fact trash. The members of Class B are stunned into silence, one of them asking what he means by apologizing first. Kasuga explains that he isn't discriminating. Unlike Suigiri, he judges them all as simply weak. He states that by accepting the Demon Fire Wielder, Class B has become tainted by his presence. Midorishiro is horrified by the chilling declaration, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. The members of Class B rally together, vowing that they will win the upcoming end-of-month rematch. Wagari, however, calmly states that their assumption is wrong. He looks at Suigiri and cryptically predicts that it is because of him that they will lose. The members of Class B stand together, their resolve hardened for the coming battle. Sugiri, his rage now spent, tells Midorishiro he's fallen for him and they'll settle this incomplete combustion in the real fight. Midorishiro stares back, his expression now one of cold, hard resolve forged in the fire of his anger. The title card announces the beginning of the Koetsu Sen, the official Class A versus Class B battle. A bus travels down a winding road, carrying the students of Class B to the designated battlefield. Inside the bus, the students are a chaotic mix of excitement, tension, and pre-battle rituals. Hanazumi admits he's scared, but says that it's natural to be scared during the first term of school. Midorishiro recalls their previous battle, where Hanazumi was sick from the stress of the intense fight. He remembers the overwhelming power of Class A's coordinated attack, a truly terrifying and chaotic display. Midorishiro wonders why Hanazumi continues to be an exorcist, calling him too pure for this line of work. Hanazumi, holding a small doll, simply explains that there are many different kinds of people in the world. A teammate asks if the notifications from their remote allies, Haishima and Kusatsu, are reaching them. A large cardboard box in the aisle rattles, revealing that a stowaway is still with them. From a remote location, a girl explains her strategy of staying outside the academy to conserve power. A voice from within the box declares an absolute, unwavering desire to win the upcoming battle. The members of Class B look on with serious, determined expressions, ready for what's to come. Their teacher, Itabashi-sensei, is revealed to be driving the bus, telling them she's not just some casual driver. The team is united, having spent 2 intense weeks preparing for this very moment. Midorishiro is eager to test a new strategy he's developed in a real, high-stakes battle. The bus arrives in the hot spring town of Kusatsu, where the doll creature realizes its teacher isn't there. A map details the Ku-Otsu interclass battle, a fight across the city with the goal of total incapacitation. The map also shows a rescue team is on standby, and that killing is strictly forbidden, resulting in an automatic loss. A girl with glasses explains that this is a perfect replica of Kusatsu built on the association's vast grounds. At their starting point, the team marvels at the empty town, noting the school's immense resources and power. Their teacher, Aogi-sensei, appears on a video call, though the connection is dark and staticky. The students crowd around the tablet, getting too close to the screen in their excitement to see their teacher. Aogi is revealed to be working from home, flustered at being seen on camera without his pants on. Their other teacher, Itabashi, watches from her own remote location, embarrassed but focused on the mission. Aoki gives his students a final encouraging wink, telling them to do their best. In a high-tech control room, staff and upperclassmen gather to watch the battle unfold on large screens. The headmistress notes that while this is a school event, today's battle has a much deeper meaning. Various spectators, including a man in a demon mask, watch the screens with intense interest. The headmistress, sipping from a cup, muses that the students are being evaluated for the K extermination strategy. The members of Class B stand together, their expressions a mixture of shock and determination. Aogi addresses his students through the tablet, his expression serious as he tells them to watch him. He smiles gently, his eyes closed as he gathers his thoughts for his motivational speech. He admits that he initially thought they would lose this time, laughing at his own past pessimism. His tone becomes sincere as he says it's because he likes them, and a botched exorcism could lead to their deaths. He reflects on their immense effort over the past 2 weeks and how much stronger they have all become. He gives his final command as their teacher, "Go win." The team roars back in unified agreement. The severe-looking teacher of Class A, Minamura Kyoka, declares they will show everyone the true path of an exorcist. Her intense gaze is shown on a monitor, watching the proceedings from afar. The smug Kasuga boasts that his ability to pinpoint the enemy's location will lead to a swift victory for Class A. The members of Class A stand at their starting point, the Kusatsu Tropical Garden, ready for battle. The flamboyant Hanayoshi declares his intention to personally defeat Midoriju because he loves her blue color. He gets in her face, telling her to read the room, as a drama of love is about to unfold. Other members of Class A and B set up their own personal rivalries, declaring this a fated encounter. A shadowy student leader, Wagiri, declares it's time for the rabbit hunt. An announcement echoes from a town loudspeaker, marking noon as the start. The stern leader of Class A prepares his pixelated, phone-connected weapon. From Class B, the blonde Suji angrily warns his rivals not to mess with him. His pigtail-haired teammate, Urushikawa, eats a snack near a box that squeaks softly. Suji clenches his fist, vowing he cannot lose and allow K to be defeated. His light-haired teammate, Hasumi, begins to address him with a serious expression. Hasumi sincerely thanks Soji for getting angry on his behalf 2 weeks ago. He then cryptically asks why Suji thinks their team remained silent for so long. Suji looks back, completely baffled by his teammate's strange line of questioning. A dark-haired girl begins to explain the reason for their silence to the confused Suji. Suji's face contorts in a silent scream of absolute dawning horror. A fanged student from Class B unleashes a massive attack, declaring he's done holding back. The loudspeaker officially announces the start of the first-year Kao-Atsu battle. The fanged student, Swigiri, grins maniacally, excited by the shabby sound of combat. He summons an ornate weapon, shouting for the fight to become even flashier. A torrential downpour of hundreds of small, hammer-like projectiles streaks across the sky. The projectiles slam into the town below, engulfing the area in massive explosions. With a feral roar, Sugiri commands his team, Class B, to charge forward. The students of Class B rush into the fray as the battle officially begins. The leader of Class A, Kasumi, grips his weapon with a confident, fanged smirk. He laughs at the barbaric sound of battle coming from the rival team's starting point. His teammate, the long-haired Ashina, announces that her imagination is now heightened. Ashina unleashes her full power, her phone's battery displayed at a perfect 100%. A wave of crystalline ice erupts from her, crackling with immense power. She transforms into a towering ice angel, unleashing her 1,000-year freeze. Back to normal, Ashina wipes a tear from her eye, lamenting that she froze it again. Her teammates marvel at her overwhelming power, one calling it absolutely incredible. Ashina's power level is shown to have dropped to 50% after the massive attack. Her teammates complain that a one-shot knockout is boring and has no taste. The leader of the trapped team, Emoitsu, cries out with fierce, desperate determination. The students of Class B brace themselves as they are thrown back by a massive explosion. The shock wave from the blast hurtles across the town towards their position. A blinding flash of light erupts from the town, marking the initial attack. A hexagonal energy shield, the Wall of Nirvana, materializes to protect the team. Narimoto and Emoitsu express their relief at the timely and powerful defense. The blonde Suji gives his teammate a thumbs up, praising his nice save. Narimoto looks relieved, having successfully protected his friends from the blast. From a distance, the attacker laments that he only managed to blow them away. The attacker, Wagiri, is revealed as a genius wielding a powerful cybernetic sword. He is a first year who has already single-handedly defeated a mid-level threat. Emoitsu grimly assesses Wagiri's danger, stating they must run from him. Narimoto looks on with annoyance, unable to believe what his teammate is saying. Suji is stunned, questioning why his friend is telling them to run away. The Hashima unit confirms they are acting separately, hiding inside a cardboard box. Hashima Hiyori hides, determined to remain in a location that cannot be found. Wagiri declares he will kill one enemy at a time, sharing locations with his allies. Ashina admires a frozen ice statue, calling it the pinnacle of aesthetic beauty. A red-haired boy with round glasses eagerly searches for his target, Suji. A girl holding a phone wonders where her target, Urishikawa, has gone. Uwada asks his flamboyantly dressed teammate where he wants to go to the bathroom. The teammate, Uwada Nikaru, looks at his phone with a nostalgic expression. His phone displays a virtual pet app that allows him to summon monsters. Wagiri vows to win this battle to join the extermination of the Lonely K. He shouts that this is his stepping stone to the peak of his exorcist career. He raises his hand, preparing to strike a lone cardboard box in a warehouse. With a cry of breakthrough, Zrение on разрывает линию, которая разрывает коробки. The mountain of containers is reduced to a chaotic storm of shredded cardboard. A single box, decorated with a pig face, trembles amidst the debris. Wagiri addresses the occupant, the reclusive doll user, Hashima Hiyori. The terrified Hashima is praised for her clever hiding spot as Wagiri looms over her. He acknowledges that hiding in a simple box was a smart misdirection. With a cruel smile, he taunts her for trembling so pathetically. Hashima's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated terror, her eyes wide with fear. Emoitsu's internal voice warns that Wagiri is dangerous and they must run. Wagiri tells the box to give up, offering a foolishly simple solution to the conflict. He unleashes his breakthrough attack, his blade slicing through the air. His weapon strikes the box, but the result is not what he expected. A small, cute doll pops out, holding a sign that humorously reads, "Miss." Wagiri stares in shock, realizing his target was merely a doll. Class B's strategy is revealed, split up to hunt down Class A's strong attackers. The real Hashima snaps a photo from her hidden location, giggling with glee. She taunts Wagiri, telling him to deal with the decoys she left behind. Hashima laughs maniacally, gloating that he fell for her trap and is now vulnerable. Wagiri grits his teeth, realizing he's been caught in a trap after his attack. He wonders if Hashima knew the old saying about exorcism being teamwork. The rest of Class B leaps from a rooftop, declaring that exorcism is teamwork. They descend upon the momentarily defenseless Wagiri in a coordinated assault. Emoitsu screams for her team to take down the strongest opponent with all their might. Wagiri dismisses their teamwork as a shameful tactic for the weak. He declares that this isn't 1 versus 1, but 1 versus 6. The team slams into him, their combined attacks creating a massive impact. Emoitsu wonders where the rest of Class A is, noting they are not yet visible. She commands her team to finish the fight before reinforcements can arrive. Wagiri is surprised as a thick, viscous liquid splatters onto his arm. The goo was fired by Emoitsu and her teammate, who wield a strange power. Narimoto's fist, crackling with pixelated energy, closes in on Wagiri's face. The punch connects squarely with Wagiri's jaw, a decisive first strike. The powerful blow lands, a painful and preemptive hit against their foe. In a command center, observers watch the battle on a holographic display. A man dismisses the display as foolish, but Emoitsu smugly insists it's fine. A woman in a kimono analyzes the synergy between the team's various powers. She takes a thoughtful bite from a sweet bun, impressed by their strategy. She enthusiastically praises Class B's performance, calling them amazing. She also notes how cute the moving Denmi-chan mascot is in the fight. She cryptically adds that there is still one more player on their side. A tattooed student with a smug expression notes that Class B has a good kid. Wagiri collapses to the ground, covered in the viscous, sticky substance. The members of Class B celebrate, cheering that they've taken down the first one. Wagiri, defeated and covered in goo, laments that this wasn't a perfect victory. A sword is driven through a chest, causing a splash of thick white substance. With a look of shock, Hanazumi realizes his opponent still intends to fight on. One of his comrades yells that it's impossible to fight while covered in goo. Wagiri turns his blade upon himself, driving it through his chest in a desperate act. His horrified opponents recoil, questioning if this is an act of suicide. He reveals his power, lets him select his target, severing only the sticky liquid. The energy from his attack radiates outwards in a massive, destructive wave. His powerful Severing Fang ability is not intended for use against human opponents. His destructive power rips through the classroom, fueled by a murderous intent. The classroom is left in ruins by the overwhelming Severing Fang attack. Huddled within a barrier, Hanazumi and his comrades watch the destruction in terror. The invisible blades of force slam into their protective shield with a bright flash. An ominous cracking sound is heard as the barrier starts to give way. Surveying the devastation, Hanazumi can only think that his opponent is a monster. Regretting his actions, Wagiri scolds himself for losing control in his anger. Taking a deep breath, he attempts to recenter himself for the fight. A chilling grin spreads across his face as he vows to sever their limbs. His opponents recoil in absolute horror at his sadistic declaration. One teammate observes his fury, while another notes their escape route is now blocked. Defiantly, Hanazumi prepares to defend with his wall ability once more. He clutches his head in panic, his headphones malfunctioning under the pressure. His expression reveals a deep-seated shock and overwhelming fear. To his horror, he sees his defensive wall has completely vanished. His eyes widen in terror as he questions why this is happening again. He realizes his terror is preventing him from focusing, just like last time. Wagiri icily commands him to give up and leave the academy for good. With tears in his eyes, he is on the verge of total surrender. Suddenly, a hand clamps over his mouth from behind, silencing his words. Minoru holds his hand firmly over Hanazumi's mouth, preventing his surrender. Minoru calmly asks Hanazumi if he is going to be all right. Wagiri's ally angrily questions Minoru's right to interfere with Hanazumi's decision. Wagiri prepares another attack, threatening to turn them into limbless dolls. Overcome with emotion, Hanazumi tearfully asks his friends why they are helping him. With quiet conviction, a young man puts his arm around his flustered friend. He vows that he won't let anyone lose, for this group is his home. Across the battlefield, a bloodied opponent unleashes a powerful slash of energy. The ink-black attack, accompanied by digital noise, rips through the air. A man in a dark uniform stands stunned amidst the wreckage of a demolished room. The attacker looks on, his expression one of pure, bewildered shock. He realizes his target vanished in the instant he unleashed his attack. His opponents are sent tumbling through space, shocked and separated. One of them lands hard on a metal grate, looking up in confusion. Another finds himself in a different part of town, calling out for his friend. Standing in a serene garden, a boy wonders where he has been transported. The pigtail-haired girl is equally lost, kneeling on a different set of steps. The attacker has a realization. Understanding his enemy's power is a window. His opponent calmly explains that his ability is more than just for looking. A chaotic space filled with floating, ornate picture frames materializes around him. The text dramatically announces the name of his power, Photo Window of the World. The attacker stares in horror, understanding his opponents were pulled through the photos. The scattered team members are shown being teleported away through the picture frames. With a cheerful wave, their rescuer bids his enemy farewell. He continues his taunt, calling it a shame he couldn't take down even one. The defeated attacker's face is shown in a portrait, his expression one of utter shock. His opponent's friendly demeanor vanishes, replaced by a cold, menacing glare. The attacker lunges forward, crashing through the empty, shattering picture frame. The frame dissolves into a flurry of digital noise and dissipating pixels. A teammate expresses her shock that he was hiding such an incredible ability. The team leader notes that his group has been scattered and must regroup. Crouched on a set of stairs, he is overcome with a sense of his own inadequacy. On a walkway, a strategist acknowledges that his foe's power is on another level. Looking at his phone, he resolves that their only option is a surprise attack. An ornate sword blade pierces through a newly materialized picture frame. The powerful enemy climbs out of the picture, cornering his opponent for a duel. The narrative reveals the enemy was raised to be a perfect being. A close-up shows his intense gaze, his perfectionist nature focused on his target. An intense argument erupts, with one student decrying his class's taint and another dismissing his talentless peer. Emerging from a glowing portal, Wagiri appears on a walkway, sword drawn, confronting his opponent below. Kasunaga bites his thumb, his expression one of pained determination as he prepares for the coming assault. With a fierce grin, Wagiri declares his intense hatred for Kasunaga, his power level shown at 73%. Kasunaga retaliates with a mighty swing, shouting about the power of his iron hammer of justice. His face reveals a flash of hurt as he confesses that he doesn't share his opponent's hatred. Wagiri smirks, having expected this animosity, and unleashes his powerful danga slashing attack. With a confident grunt, he sends his attack slicing cleanly through the air towards his foe. The battle has left the walkway in ruins, with other students lying defeated amidst the wreckage. A close-up shows Wagiri's weapon smashing a selfie stand, a detail of the collateral damage. Leaping high into the air, Wagiri poises his weapon for a powerful downward strike. Kasunaga is sent tumbling backward from a powerful blow, looking up in shock at his attacker. Wagiri delivers a furious kick, screaming his intent to shatter his opponent's iron hammer of justice. Railing from the attack, Kasunaga questions if this brutal display is what justice truly looks like. Wagiri, his face a mask of rage, demands to know what his opponent's definition of justice is. Landing hard, Kasunaga realizes with dawning fury that his opponent deliberately avoided a fatal blow. Wagiri's unique weapon, a massive stamp-like mace, is revealed in its full ornate glory. Believing he is being toyed with, Kasunaga's frustration and rage begin to build. Wagiri screams his personal philosophy, declaring that true justice is the quality of being noble. His uniform tearing, Kasunaga reveals a menacing skull tattoo, sneering at his opponent's twisted ideal. Gripping his weapon tightly, Kasunaga tells Wagiri to shut up, his power level displayed at 35%. He screams that witnessing Wagiri's justice is the worst, most exhilarating feeling he has ever known. A text box reveals that Wagiri's philosophy began in elementary school with a life advice blog. The blog, known for its sharp-tongued answers, is shown to be a massive online phenomenon. Wagiri brings his weapon down, vowing to cleave through his opponent's twisted worries and ideals. Kasunaga lets out a raw scream of agony as the powerful, symbolic blow connects. With a grimace of disgust, Wagiri declares that justice is unpleasant and must not be defiled. Kasunaga lies broken as Wagiri stands over him, remarking that his state is too pathetic to continue. Believing the fight is over, Wagiri states that his opponent knows he can no longer win. Kasunaga's expression shifts from exhaustion to a new chilling and unreadable intensity. Wagiri recalls a chilling warning that this same outcome would occur no matter what. A distorted, glitchy image flashes, a premonition of a deeper, more ominous conflict. The story flashes back, revealing Kasunaga's past with his delinquent friends, including a blonde-haired Enjo. With teeth clenched and eyes shut, a young man lets out a guttural sound of intense effort. A man in stylish shoes curses in frustration as he steps onto the scene. Another young man lands on rubble, playfully announcing he's found his target. In Sinokawara Park, Kadoguchi greets Enjo Soshi from a high perch. Enjo, unimpressed, calls his opponent a pervert. His power level is at 87%. Kato grins maniacally, revealing he's spent 2 weeks devising ways to torment Enjo. He declares with glee that this will be a torture session he has saved up. Enjo stares back with a completely blank, emotionless expression, offering no reaction. Kato is utterly flabbergasted, demanding to know why his opponent isn't reacting. Enjo calmly explains that reacting would only please Kato, so ignoring him is best. Leaping from his rock, Kato decides to force a reaction as Enjo braces himself. Kato unleashes a fiery skull, his serpent song Flame Scorch, taunting Enjo. Enjo, now enraged, vows to never forget the insult to his friend Akari. Dodging with ease, Kato grins, noting Enjo reacts more when friends are threatened. Kato gets in Enjo's face, revealing their mutual acquaintance Kasunaga is fighting Wagiri. He explains his own inability to feel fear, using Kasunaga as a vessel. Enjo is stunned by the revelation, a single bead of sweat on his face. In a flashback, Kato torments Kasunaga in a hallway, mocking his remorse. Kato demands that Kasunaga get angry, feeding on his psychological pain. Back in the present, Enjo shocks Kato by breaking into a wide, relieved smile. The scene shifts to Kasunaga, shirtless and tattooed, screaming as he attacks. Wagiri, his expression grim, parries the fierce blow with his bladed staff. Kasunaga roars Kato's name, Kuroga, in a cry of pure, defiant rage. The force of their weapons clashing sends a powerful shockwave through the area. Kasunaga is blasted backward into a pool of water, his large weapon still in hand. Wagiri is also thrown back by the impact, landing hard on the walkway above. Standing over the pool, Wagiri declares the sacred spring shouldn't be defiled by blood. He demands that Kasunaga renounce his twisted sense of justice and admit defeat. Submerged in the hot water, Kasunaga feels his head clear from the heat. Wagiri asks if he will withdraw, and Kasunaga rises, quietly agreeing to do so. His face suddenly contorts in rage as he screams that he hates Wagiri too. He stands defiantly in the pool, weapon raised high, roaring that he is justice. Wagiri looks on in disbelief, his own power level displayed at a healthy 60%. Kasunaga glares back, his power at a critical 17% but his will unbroken. The two warriors clash again, their weapons meeting in a blinding explosion of power. At a bus terminal, Uwata flies towards Shizukumori, asking if he'll join the fight. Shizukumori calmly advises his comrade that there is no need to be hasty. Uwata accuses Shizukumori of hiding his spatial movement ability, calling him a sly fox. Hanezu Renri appears clutching his phone and declares that they are all wrong. Uwata points at Renri, challenging him to a fight to settle who is right. Renri summons a monstrous teddy bear, which smashes a nearby rock formation. Ignoring the challenge, Renri states that he must get to his own precious person. A flashback introduces a young boy with dark hair named Manas Kururu. A younger, blushing Renri introduces himself with a cheerful, innocent smile. Renri then introduces his older brother, Rhoda, whose face is a disturbing, indistinct blur. The children stand before their elders, who demand they awaken their spiritual powers. A young Kururu asks Renri about a ritual item, but Renri tells him not to use his name. Renri asks why, and Kururu bluntly replies that it's because it isn't cool. Kururu playfully punches the blurred Rhoda, while Renri watches with a smile. A memory shows Renri bound by ropes, enduring years of cruel, isolating training. A bandaged Kururu reveals he suffered the same fate, forging a bond of shared trauma. Kururu complains about the awful food and Renri's increasingly coarse behavior. Renri laments that another child has yet to awaken, unlike the main family's Rhoda. The two brothers undergo a 3-day fast in a cell to awaken their powers. Through the barred window, Rhoda remarks that the moon is beautiful, and Renri agrees. Lying in their separate beds, Renri calls out to his older brother in the dark. The blurred Rhoda asks to see Renri's face, and for Renri to look at his. Renri looks at his own reflection in a polished surface, whispering Rhoda's name. Leaning close, Rhoda pleads with Renri not to forget him. Renri stares back at his brother, his young face a mask of sorrow and shock. A long-haired man stands over a seemingly dead Renri, calling him pathetic for failing. The man cruelly informs Renri that he never had a brother to begin with. Two women gossip that no one in the house speaks of Rhoda anymore, as if forgotten. Sitting alone in his cell, Renri vows that he, at least, will never forget. Renri is startled from his thoughts by a sudden noise at his window. Kururu stands outside, a backpack on and prayer beads in hand, ready to leave. He calls out to Renri, telling him it's time for them to run away from home. From his barred window, Renri looks down, questioning his friend's sudden appearance. Kururu explains that he heard about Rhoda and declares their world is rotten. With a confident look, Kururu simply tells Renri to come with him. Renri is stunned into silence by the sudden, life-altering offer of escape. He steps out of his prison, leaving the confines of his past behind. Framed by the window, the two boys are seen running free through the woods. Years later, Renri walks with his new delinquent friends on a neon-lit city street. He reflects that despite this new life, he couldn't find any real joy. His friend Yuta listens silently, a cigarette dangling from his lips. The bright lights of the city gleam on the buildings around the group. Yuta, his arm covered in a large tattoo, watches his friends with a calm gaze. He finds Renri in an alley having a panic attack and asks what's wrong. Renri clutches his head in agony, screaming that he can't remember Rhoda's face. The memory of his brother's blurred face haunts him as he laments his fading memory. Yuta looks on with a thoughtful expression, exhaling a plume of smoke. He shakes down a girl, taking her 2 smartphones as his friends watch. He casually wipes all the data from one of the stolen phones. He then tosses the now clean phone to a confused and distraught Renri. Yuta points to himself, telling Renri to take a picture of him instead. Renri stares at the phone, repeating the word picture in utter confusion. Yuta explains that he knows Renri is struggling and that human memory is fragile. He smirks, telling Renri that if he takes a picture, he'll never forget him. Renri is stunned into silence by this simple yet profound act of kindness. Overwhelmed with emotion, he breaks down, tears of gratitude streaming down his face. Clutching the phone, he promises to take many photos, to remember them forever. Yuta grins, encouraging him to take as many pictures as he wants. Renri snaps the first blurry photo of his new friends, a precious memory. He holds the phone, realizing these people are not just friends to him. A dynamic shot of Yuta confirms the truth. They are his new family. In the present, a long-haired man attacks Renri's comrades, his new family. One of Renri's female friends cries out in alarm that her family is in danger. Renri looks at his phone, the photo of his friends displayed on the screen. He clenches his fist, his expression hardening with a new protective resolve. He lunges forward, screaming at the attacker not to interfere with his family. Two young men in formal uniforms walk away from their smiling companion. The one on the right reflects on his decision to return to the world of spirits, realizing that with family, home can be anywhere. In a lively group photo, he poses with his new classmates, his new family. He vows to himself that he will never again forget what is precious to him. A young man with spiky light hair and fanged teeth lunges forward, his face a mask of desperate concern as he screams for his comrade to be safe. A long-haired fighter named Uwada Iko lies defeated on the ground, his participation in the battle now over. With her power at 76%, Urusagawa Kiyomi battles fiercely, remarking that she's getting fired up and is ready to cause some trouble. She is suddenly ambushed from behind by Kusamaba Eru, whose power is at a formidable 89%. Kusamaba playfully asks if she's trying to reach Kasumi, vowing not to let her pass. A profile introduces Kusamaba Eru as a beautiful but dangerous landmine type, known for her obsessive research into the men she likes. It is revealed that she becomes the ideal partner for all 12 of the men she has dated, a testament to her unique and dangerous ability. Holding her phone, Kusamaba's eyes focus with intense concentration as she prepares to unleash her cyber power. She activates her signature ability, Landmine Record, as a circular, futuristic device materializes at her feet. Her booted foot slams down hard onto the device, triggering the full force of her power. She expertly channels the abilities of the men she's discarded, drawing out an incredible 120% of their power. Unleashing Landmine Record 3, Mixed Martial Artist, she prepares to strike Urusagawa with overwhelming force. Urusagawa cries out in pain as the powerful punch breaks through her viscous, goo-like shield. Kusamaba's past is shown. She is a woman who makes men fall for her before quickly and cruelly growing cold. Enraged, Urusagawa screams that Kusamaba is just trying to stop her from reaching Kasumi and that her selfish actions aren't true teamwork. Kusamaba blushes, countering that Urusagawa is on a different level of strength and that their situations are not the same. Bandaged from a previous hit, Kusamaba tries to explain that she developed feelings for Urusagawa after receiving her help, asking if that's really so wrong. Urusagawa explodes with fury, screaming at Kusamaba for getting emotional and flashing her inner thigh pink at a time like this. She unleashes her viscous liquid explosion, yelling for the bitch to be blown away by the massive blast of goo. Kusamaba is struck squarely by the massive blast of white, sticky fluid, letting out a choke sound of impact. The force of the explosion sends both girls tumbling helplessly from the rooftop, screaming as they fall through the air. Urusagawa lands in a large pool of her own goo inside an onsen, her power now at 45% and her body completely trapped. She looks up in utter shock as a figure begins to emerge from the sticky white liquid. Kusamaba leaps out, now in her floral-patterned underwear, taunting that boys aren't the only ones with embarrassing sides. She activates Landmine Record 6, Beautician, holding a pair of large, sharp, stylus scissors as she prepares to attack. Urusagawa is horrified, realizing with a jolt that a bathhouse is, after all, a place to get undressed. Kusamaba tackles the trapped Urusagawa, sending them both splashing into the bath in a chaotic heap. She pins Urusagawa down, asking with a taunt if it's really okay for her guard to be so wide open. Kusamaba vows to beat Urusagawa even more than before, while Urusagawa wonders how her opponent is so good at using her looks to her advantage. Onlookers comment on Kasumi's cool, fierce eyes, finding his masculine charm utterly captivating. Another girl thinks it's a bit creepy how both he and Midorishiro are part of the same strange and intense duo. The fight continues with brutal force, with Urusagawa screaming at her opponent for changing things up so suddenly. A memory shows a blonde girl remarking that Kusamaba wasn't always like this, speculating she changed her style to match Kasumi's. In the present, Urusagawa screams at Kusamaba, furiously accusing her of having no identity of her own. Kusamaba roars back with fierce conviction, insisting that it's all her and that she was completely serious about all of her past relationships. Enraged, Urusagawa grabs Kusamaba by the face and screams that she's just a mihar, a poser trying to be someone she's not. Kusamaba tells her to stop, her expression shifting as a new plan begins to form in her mind. They continue to grapple viciously in the water, screaming as they struggle for dominance in the messy brawl. Kusamaba's expression softens as she blushes, a cunning and wicked idea lighting up her eyes. She pulls out her smartphone, her voice trembling slightly as she tells a confused Urusagawa to look at it. The screen shows a shocking photoshopped image of Kusamaba in bed with the boy Urusagawa idolizes, Kurenai Ren. The sight completely shatters Urusagawa's composure, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated horror as her world crumbles. The world turns to static around her mind breaking under the weight of the cruel psychological attack. Kusamaba smirks triumphantly, knowing her attack has landed perfectly and that her opponent is mentally broken. She activates her landmine record once more, preparing to strike the final, devastating blow. This time it's Landmine Record 8, Fuji Ginki, channeling the immense power of a sumo wrestler. The power of a sumo wrestler manifests as she prepares to attack the mentally broken Urusagawa with overwhelming force. Kusamaba reveals the image was a lie, a photoshopped creation by a CG artist on her team designed specifically to break Urusagawa's will to fight. The narration confirms that the massive mental damage from the attack should have ensured her immediate loss of fighting spirit. A flashback shows Urusagawa's lonely school life, listening to classmates gossip about how annoying the rich Kurenai Ren is. A graffiti desk shows insults aimed at Ren, but his very existence in her world was the only thing that allowed her to endure. Kusamaba is shocked as the supposedly broken Urusagawa instantly frees herself from the viscous ropes that held her. Urusagawa, having recovered in an instant, reveals that she understood immediately that the image was a lie. She furiously lands a punch, screaming that she knows the exact date and time the real photo was posted because she has it memorized. She yells that she's looked at it countless times while fantasizing about him, warning Kusamaba not to underestimate her years of obsessive dedication. A blushing Kusamaba realizes with utter shock that Urusagawa is the same as her, a serious, dedicated fan who is truly in love. Urusagawa grits her teeth, her resolve renewed by this strange, shared passion for the same person. Her friends watch from the sidelines, understanding that their friend's dedication is about more than just being a simple fan. Both girls, battered and furious, scream at the top of their lungs that they haven't lost this fight yet. They trade clumsy but vicious punches in the bath, their enhanced powers now gone. With their power levels both at a critical 1%, they realize they can no longer sustain their powered fight and must rely on pure grit. Both simultaneously deactivate their cyber powers, their glowing auras and special effects vanishing in an instant. The fight devolves into a raw, powerless brawl as they trade brutal, unrefined blows. They grapple and claw at each other with the last of their strength, tumbling through the water in a desperate, messy scrap. Their chaotic brawl sends bottles of milk flying from a nearby rack, crashing to the floor. They collapse in a heap, completely exhausted and unable to continue their powered fight. Later, they soak in the clean bathwater, both admitting that they can't move anymore after their grueling battle. Urusagawa's form is seen peacefully submerged in the warm, healing water of the onsen. She offers Kusamaba a milk bottle, admitting that she's a bitch who has to copy others to feel like herself. Kusamaba accepts the drink, saying Urusagawa was strong too, and apologizing for calling her a poser. They clink their milk bottles together in a quiet gesture of newfound, hard-earned respect. A notification declares both Urusagawa and Kusamaba retired from the battle, unable to continue the fight. Elsewhere on the battlefield, other fighters sense a strange and powerful disturbance, wondering what is happening. A blonde-haired boy with a headband wonders what happened to Midori Shiro, as a legendary enemy appears to be breathing fire. A map of the battle shows the current state, 1 win and 1 draw, with Class B holding the distinct advantage. In a high-tech command center, a long-haired teacher, Aogi, observes the battle, noting that this is vastly different from the last Ku-Otsu match. Aogi yells at a student, Nankura, not to get cocky, reminding him that this isn't a simple contest of strength. Nankura, looking at his phone with a serious expression, reports to Aogi that an important intel report has just come through. Aogi is shocked to hear that there is a strange energy reaction from inside the virtual Kusatsu town. Nankura confirms the reading is faint, but Aogi dismisses it as a prank, insisting that a surprise like that is impossible. Nankura has a feeling this is part of the school's intentional design, not just a random, unforeseen event. A student named Hasumi Renri, his power at a low 19%, feels the strange disturbance from his position. Another student, Hajima Hiyori, wonders what is happening from her hidden perch, sensing the change in the air. Imoto Narihiko, crouching on a darkened staircase, also senses the strange and powerful energy. A blond boy Kurose clutches his headphones, unable to stop the trembling in his hands as he feels the disturbance. He holds his headphones, his face etched with deep concern and a growing sense of dread. A detailed shot focuses on the modern, high-tech headphones, the source of his perception. The wild-eyed Sugi Day, his power at 51%, also wonders what is happening as the energy shifts. He unleashes a fiery attack at a cloaked figure, taunting that his attack won't even connect. He is shocked when his fire doesn't even graze his opponent, recognizing him instantly as Midorishiro. Midorishiro moves with impossible speed, wondering what happened in the last 2 weeks to grant him this incredible power. A flashback shows him desperately begging Aogi-sensei to teach him how to output power without a receiver. Aogi casually confirms that such a thing is possible, though it is not the standard or most common method. He agrees to teach him, noting that at Midorishiro's exceptional speed, it might just be possible for him to master it. Aogi believes that at his current level, Midorishiro may be ready to advance to the next stage of his training. A diagram shows the most basic method, channeling power directly through the smartphone. The next step is explained. The user must draw that power back into their own body instead of releasing it. Aoki demonstrates by grabbing Midorishiro's arm, explaining that with enough practice, he can release it from anywhere without even touching the receiver. In the present, Midorishiro stands confidently, his unique Anabi flames swirling freely around his hands and feet, ready to burn with a newfound power. With his power reserves at 84%, Midorishiro Suji taunts his opponent to bring the fight. The tiny Ori-chan observes that with his hands free, the fighting barriers class has increased. Suji activates a doping eyes ability, thanking his teacher as his opponent attacks. Weaving with newfound grace, Suji effortlessly dodges a powerful kick from the orange-haired man. Thinking of his master with gratitude, Suji easily deflects another powerful blow. A wisp of Suji's pixelated demon fire swirls with dangerous, uncontrolled energy. His opponent is completely overwhelmed by Suji's furious, close-quarters assault. A close-up reveals the orange-haired man's glasses, cracking under the force of a brutal hit. The impact of Suji's attack sends his opponent flying backward across the rocky terrain. A decisive punch from Suji connects squarely with the orange-haired man's face. Caught and defeated, the man complains about the searing pain of the demon fire. His face contorted in anguish, he desperately screams for Suji to listen to him. Suji activates a doping shoulder ability, rendering his opponent's weak flame useless. With a powerful kick, Suji sends his enemy splashing hard into a shallow pool of water. Standing over his fallen foe, Suji asks if he is finally ready to give up the fight. The orange-haired man whispers that the feeling of being defeated is utterly disgusting. A look of twisted, blood-soaked ecstasy spreads across his battered face. Suji can only watch this bizarre and unexpected reaction with pure shock. A memory surfaces of the man feeling that Suji's current strength is just painful. He recalls his younger self blushing at the attention of a pretty girl. The smiling girl once told him that his intense malice towards her was a form of affection. This led to a cruel prank, where he filled the girl's shoes with writhing worms. He remembers laughing maniacally as the girl recoiled in absolute horror from his prank. The girl's face was a mask of genuine disgust, shattering his warped perception of her feelings. This memory of her revulsion still fills him with a strange, blushing excitement. He recalls his obsession with online hate, finding a twisted kinship in shared negativity. In his messy room, he laments being unable to see the faces of his online haters. A memory of another man begging to be hated flashes through his troubled mind. His ally Kasumi Minoru appears, dismissing Suji's actions as the work of scum. The orange-haired man's face contorts in a gasp of pure, ecstatic pleasure. Kasumi states that Suji's brand of justice is something his own beliefs completely reject. With a bright smile, Kasumi declares he prefers this raw negativity to half-assed justice. The orange-haired man is completely overwhelmed by this contradictory validation. He experiences the euphoric sensation of being hated and liked at the very same time. Leaping to his feet, he roars at Suji, demanding he channel all his anger at him. His face a mask of pure mania, he begs Suji to make him go absolutely crazy. Suji looks bored, dismissing him as a small fry he has no intention of engaging with. The cold indifference in Suji's single eye is a devastatingly effective blow. A close-up shows the absolute apathy in Suji's unwavering gaze. Suji activates doping legs, preparing to end the fight with a final decisive move. He leaps high into the air, announcing his intention to finish this quickly. Erichan confirms that what's missing from his arsenal now is a finishing move. Suji uses the acceleration of gravity to enhance his powerful doping plus kick. He reaches a height of 50 meters, preparing for his ultimate attack. In a stunning full-page spread, he unleashes his Onabi technique in Katenka. A staff intercepts his fiery kick, and Kasumi notes their similar flame-based powers. Kasumi confidently tells Suji that he will show him the difference in their class. The orange-haired man screams, terrified of losing Suji's interest if he is defeated. He wails in despair, believing he'll lose his true heart if he loses this fight. The face of Kasumi Minoru is a mask of grim, focused determination. His own power level is shown at a mere 17%, facing a much stronger foe. He was locked in a brutal battle with the shirtless, tattooed fighter, Kasunaga Taku. Kasumi's opponent, Wagiri Minoru, is at a dominant 58% power level. Wagiri questions why Taku continues to come at him despite the obvious power gap. Haneda Renri arrives on the scene, declaring he's here to help his comrade, Taku. He holds up a mirror-like device, announcing that it's now 2 against 1. With a determined look, Haneda brandishes a sharp, dagger-like weapon. In a shocking act of betrayal, Haneda slashes his own ally, Taku, across the back. Haneda and Taku stare at each other in mutual, horrified disbelief at the action. A close-up shows Haneda's face, contorted in shock at his own inexplicable betrayal. Just before the betrayal, Haneda had been yelling for Taku to be safe. A quiet shot shows Haneda walking alone down a narrow alleyway. A flashback reveals Kasumi lecturing about a mystery coup class member who didn't fight before. The mystery member, Namerikawa Kasumi, appears, warning what happens if she's noticed. The hypnotic, swirling eye pattern of her hypnosis app is shown in detail. A target's eye reflects the swirling pattern, showing they are under her control. A swirling, abstract pattern represents the confusion of the hypnotized mind. Namerikawa reveals her hobby is observing the predictable emotions of insects and humans. Her hypnosis app allows her to issue commands by making someone look at the screen. The command given was to attack Kasunaga Taku, forcing Haneda's betrayal. Namerikawa looks on with a pleased, almost innocent expression at the chaos. A close-up on Haneda's face shows his utter confusion and shock at his actions. The wounded Taku looks down, questioning his own part in this strange situation. The two friends lie defeated on the ground as Wagiri stands over them. Namerikawa cheerfully announces that Taku and Haneda are now unable to continue fighting. Haneda stammers, trying to process his own involuntary actions. Wagiri declares that while the feeling was pleasant, he still hates Namerikawa. Namerikawa confesses she likes Wagiri and that his glue-like power was a good idea. Wagiri announces the digestion match is over, having found the hidden sick person. Taku, bleeding but defiant, stands ready to fight again against all odds. He roars that the fight with Wagiri is not over yet, his spirit unbroken. Wagiri is stunned into silence by his opponent's impossible resilience. Namerikawa holds up her hypnosis app, ready to issue another command. She taunts her opponent, telling him not to be manipulated by her. The screen displays a new simple command, dance madly. Taku screams as his mind is shattered by the powerful psychic assault. Namerikawa pulls on her sleeves with a cheerful, innocent gesture of victory. She skips away playfully, humming to herself as her plan succeeds. Wagiri explains that a half-assed ability simply returns to a mere spiritual power. His own resolve hardens as he vows that his heart will not break this time. He declares his intent to sever his opponents, physically disabling them for good. Haneda panics, realizing he can't escape with his power at a critical 6%. He begs his teacher to declare him unable to fight, to let him give up. The teacher coldly asks if he truly intends to kill his own student. The student in question looks on, sweating with anxiety at the grim situation. Taku roars that it's always the same, that if it ends here, it's his limit. Haneda looks at him, wondering why he's pushing himself to such an extreme. Taku recalls thinking he would surely lose to his friends in their last encounter. His power level is at 17%, and he wonders if this is his last possible output. With a final surge, he unleashes his Denno output, summoning the Iron Mace of Justice. A young man with glasses, his face spattered with blood and grime, stares forward with a look of grim, unwavering resolve. A montage of shocked faces, including a tattooed youth and a blonde boy, culminates in the intense gaze of the bruised boy with glasses. In a memory, a young man named Ren stands outside a grand estate, suggesting they run away from the grueling training within. The memory shifts to a happier time, showing a young man with his new delinquent friends, smiling freely as he experiences simple joys. A chaotic flashback shows the young man reveling in a violent brawl, his face a wild grin, a menacing skull tattoo visible on his arm. A man in traditional robes holding a fan cheerfully invites the delinquent, Renri, to join the Yuden Academy. The tattooed youth, Shuji, stands defiantly in an alleyway as his friend tells him to go home. The man with the fan confronts the delinquents, expressing his reluctance to abandon talented youths, while Shuji angrily tells him to leave. Dismissing Shuji's claim of having no talent, the fan-wielding man is told in return that his guidance is worthless. The man points accusingly, shouting in frustration that he's being ignored. With a confident smirk, the man with the fan effortlessly blocks a blow, declaring he will polish his opponent's skills. Shuji's friends urge him to stop, while another reveals the man is Aoki, a scout from the academy. A close-up reveals the intricate and menacing detail of Shuji's tattoo, featuring a skull entwined with flowers. Aoki playfully asks if Shuji's tattoo is a symbol of his break from the spirit world, but Shuji just yells for him to go home. Two young women suddenly approach Aoki, fawning over him and commenting on how handsome he is, much to his surprise. As the women lead him away, Aoki stammers about their prominent chests, while Shuji tells his friend it's time to leave. With a look of finality, Shuji declares he is sick of the spirit world and vows never to return. A cheerful Aogi waves goodbye to the women, telling them to call him anytime and to say hello to their mothers. As he walks away, Shuji admits to his friend that he has just one lingering regret. A flashback shows Shuji visiting his kind mother in her room at their crooked family home. In the memory, his mother gently tells him that no matter what path he chooses, he must always strive to be a good person. In the present, Shuji's friend Kazuya is on the phone, his expression serious and troubled. Kazuya looks at his phone while in a lounge with his friends, his thoughts turning to his aunt. The scene shifts to a funeral hall, its stark banners hanging outside the traditional building. Kazuya and Shuji arrive at their family home for the first time in 2 years, filled with regret for not having apologized to the deceased. An elderly man, their grandfather, confronts them with cold fury, demanding to know how they dare show their faces. Shuji stands silently, his expression unreadable, determined to endure whatever his grandfather says. A close-up reveals a reflection of a smartphone screen in Shuji's eye. The phone displays a viral video of their delinquent rampage in a ramen shop, titled The Magasi Shame. A dynamic shot from the video shows Shuji gleefully causing chaos during a foolish brawl he started. The story snaps to the present battle, where a shirtless, tattooed Kasunaga fights fiercely against his opponent, Inoki. A montage of faces shows the intense emotions of the battle: Kasunaga's fierce determination, Kazuya's shock, and Inoki's pained resolve. Inoki's teacher mocks him, smugly asking if Inoki truly understands why he despises flame-type users. Wreathed in a powerful, pixelated flame, Kasunaga declares it's because he himself is a flame-type, an awakened Den-no. He swings his fiery weapon, repeating his hatred for flame-types. The flames intensify as he once again declares his hatred for his own kind, a manifestation of his awakened power. A close-up on the viral video's comment section shows people reacting to his rampage, as he explains he is the viral flame itself. A speech bubble reveals the devastating truth. His mother saw the video of him that had spread online. The grandfather holds up the phone, showing the video and explaining that his mother saw it and wept terribly. With cold fury, the grandfather points at Shuji, declaring that the shame and despair killed her, making her death his fault. The accusation hits Shuji with the force of a physical blow, his eyes wide with horror. Kazuya explodes in denial, shouting at the old man to stop, but Shuji, his face shadowed, quietly tells him to stop. With a look of quiet resignation, Shuji murmurs that it's fine. Kazuya realizes that even if it's not literally true, the mere possibility has deeply wounded his friend. His mother's words telling him to be a good person drift through his memory. A young man named Aoki, his hair now neatly styled in black, reflects that this new look suits him better. A teacher laughs, noting that Aoki and his friend are finally taking things seriously, praising their straightforwardness. Midori Shiro smiles, asking his teacher not to make fun of his decision, explaining that he's happy. The teacher asks Aoki why he has returned to a world he once hated so much. Aoki's thoughts drift to the academy building, as he wonders if his return is for his mother's atonement or his own punishment. A close-up reveals Aoki's distant, reserved expression. He confesses that he doesn't know the reason, only that he just wanted to be proper. The teacher smiles warmly, welcoming him back and calling him Katsuragi-kun. Aoki asks him not to use that name, explaining his father disowned him, but the teacher suggests calling him by his first name. The name Katsuragi triggers a memory, and Aoki spins around, his past self emerging. A flashback shows a social media post of a wrecked car, a nihilistic act from his past that he now sees as foolish. In a memory, he sits alone in a traditional room, dismissing his past actions as mere self-harm. A chaotic montage shows his past self, the violent Katsuragi, cursing his own foolishness while fighting his rival, Gigaide. Gigaide attacks, declaring that Katsuragi's evolved power cannot hide his true, chained nature. With a furious roar, Gigaide unleashes his signature Danga attack. Katsuragi effortlessly incinerates the attack, scattering it into harmless embers. Leaping through the dissipating energy, Katsuragi perfectly copies the Danga attack, slamming it into his opponent. In a memory, Katsuragi sits in a yukata, frustrated that his true, trashy self keeps emerging despite his efforts to be proper. Both Midorishiro and Gigaide react with shock to an unforeseen development in their present battle. Gigaide unleashes a furious Doha attack, while Katsuragi moves to counter with his own Danga. Gigaide screams that those who keep trying cannot be allowed to lose. Gigaide realizes with dawning horror that Katsuragi never ran from him. He was the one who ran, convinced he could never win. Bloodied and defeated, Katsuragi lies on the ground, his body broken. His thoughts drift, wondering why he is fighting so desperately now. A close-up on Gigaide's eyes shows his pupils dilating in shock. Midorishiro leaps through the air, his fist wreathed in pixelated fire, the rising sun framing him against the city skyline. He lands gracefully, his formal robes swirling around him. A battered Aoki watches from a distance, seeing Midorishiro as a tiny figure against the bright sky. Midorishiro smirks with confidence, ready for the fight. He beckons his opponent forward with a flick of his fingers. A close-up on Aoki's shocked, bloodied face reveals his inner turmoil. Midorishiro declares that Aoki is not running from his past, but facing it and turning it into strength. A teacher stands over a defeated Gigaide, questioning why he would be his guide when he's just a class representative. The teacher smiles, stating that this path will be good for both Aoki and Katsuragi. Kasunaga, shirtless and bleeding, admits to himself that he didn't want to lose. Midorishiro winks, casually taking a picture of the battlefield, dismissing the impact of his opponent. Gigaide, with only 7% power left, furiously tells Midorishiro not to get cocky, calling him a coward who ran away. He unleashes his final, desperate Danga attack on the coward before him. Aoki realizes that he ran away, and that this fight is not the end for him. Wagiri declares that he is not his opponent, but that he is himself. Kasunaga screams for his past to be erased. He lands a solid blow, sending Wagiri staggering back. With a furious roar, Kasunaga declares that his entire being, his present self, is everything. He lets out a primal, guttural scream of pure, unadulterated frustration. The sound itself becomes a weapon, a massive wave of power that slams into Gigaide. Midorishiro looks on in awe, recognizing the technique as Intenka. The force of the attack sends Gigaide hurtling through the air, completely defeated. The impact is immense, shattering the ground around him. The Intenka continues to rip through the battlefield. Gigaide is sent flying, completely overwhelmed by the explosive force. Midorishiro grins, noting that his opponent didn't run away as he expected. Wagiri is thrown to the ground, his posture broken, unable to continue the fight. A notice declares Wagiri Minoru combat ineffective. Kasunaga stands victorious, touching his lip and apologizing for using such vulgar language, having secured a major victory. Midorishiro Tsuji looks on, his power level at 64%, a promotional image for the manga's second volume visible in the corner. Lying defeated on the ground, Sugiki Dei's face is battered and bloody. Midorishiro declares the fight over, stating killing would mean his team's automatic loss. Completely broken, Dei can only whimper in despair amidst the rubble. He cries out, believing his opponent has abandoned him to die alone. Midorishiro furiously demands an apology for the burning of his sister Akari's hairpin. Dei offers a meek, tearful apology, which makes Midorishiro uncomfortable. Turning away, Midorishiro says that it's fine, and he will forgive him. But he suddenly stops, a new, darker thought taking hold of him. He grabs Dei by the collar, snarling that he will kill him if he's ever mocked again. Dei's eyes widen in absolute terror at the vicious, unexpected threat. His fear strangely twists into ecstatic shock, his pupils turning into hearts. Midorishiro walks away, leaving his opponent completely incapacitated on the ground. Elsewhere, a long-haired man with glasses, Wagiri, clutches his head in disbelief. A smirking young man acknowledges the surprising turn of events with satisfaction. A student watches from afar, murmuring the name Midorishiro Tsuji with interest. A long-haired woman on her phone also repeats the name, intrigued by the news. Midorishiro himself looks on, his expression one of calm, focused determination. On a walkway, his teammates Kasuba and Hasumi tend to their wounds. Midorishiro runs towards them, calling out to his friends with relief. Hasumi greets him, praising his overwhelming and impressive victory. A gas-masked medic wheels the unconscious Kasuba away on a gurney. Hasumi explains that he and Kakeru are also out of the fight, having tied. With a triumphant grin, Midorishiro declares that this means their team has won. His two friends, Kasuba and Hasumi, look at him with a shared, moved expression. Hasumi quietly calls out Midorishiro's name, his voice soft. He suddenly pulls a stunned Midorishiro into a tight, grateful hug. Flustered, Midorishiro promises to explain everything later, dismissing his own actions. Kasuba thinks about how Midorishiro's actions helped him break a mental barrier. Hasumi smiles, admitting he's a little frustrated by the outcome. Midorishiro is left blushing and completely baffled by his friend's reactions. A status screen reveals Class B has 3 members retired, while Class A has 5. Midorishiro realizes there is still one more opponent left, Ashina Ban. The final opponent, Ashina, makes his dramatic entrance, radiating confidence. A montage reveals his narcissistic belief in sharing his physical beauty with the world. He preaches that no part of his body should be hidden from his followers. His obsession is so extreme, his social media account is constantly frozen. Kakeru identifies Ashina as a powerful but foolish user of ice abilities. He correctly deduces that Ashina's earlier attack must have used significant energy. Hasumi places his trust in Midorishiro for the final battle, leaving it to him. Midorishiro accepts the heavy responsibility with a serious, determined gaze. His friends prepare to take on the remaining lesser threats on the field. In a control room, the director seethes, cursing his Class A opponents. He is haunted by the memory of his brother dying by the demon fire of K. His colleague, Minamikura, shares his pain, having also lost someone dear. The director knows Midorishiro isn't K, but the deep-seated grudge remains. An urgent report comes in. The branded are reacting with alarming intensity. The faculty is thrown into turmoil as the crisis rapidly escalates. A runner reports a Bakito has appeared and his investigators missing. Ashina casually confirms he was the one who saw off the investigator. Midorishiro steps forward, challenging Ashina, the last standing member of Class A. Ashina turns away, saying his masterpiece is complete and he can't be reached. He unveils a grotesque sculpture of Academy staff members frozen in ice. Midorishiro stares in horror, recognizing the faces of the victims. Ashina emotionlessly confirms that all of the staff members are dead. He inspects his work before dismissing it as a failed piece of art. The ice sculpture shatters, and Midorishiro is frozen with terror. Midorishiro demands to know what he's doing, his resolve completely crumbling. He is totally overwhelmed by the depth of Ashina's cruel sadism. Suddenly, Ashina collapses, screaming that he doesn't want to be frozen. Midorishiro can only watch, stunned by this bizarre and unexpected turn. Black tears stream from Ashina's eyes as his face contorts in agony. He raves about wanting an account that can never be suspended by moderators. His body begins to transform, sprouting jagged ice crystals from his flesh. He screams about wanting a body that never ages, free from decay. The director realizes in horror that Ashina is already dead. A title card screams the horrifying diagnosis, Bakito. Ashina's dead account becomes his physical reality, a monstrous transformation. He is reborn as a beautiful and terrifying ice monster, a rebirth of Beauty and the Beast. Midorishiro points in horror, recognizing the Bakito and its bloody tears. The monster revels in its new supreme body and its incredible power. He unleashes a cataclysmic wave of frost, freezing the entire town. Ecstatic, he thanks the mysterious K for granting him this beautiful power. Midorishiro connects the name to his true enemy, realizing this is a larger plot. In a rescue room, his friends find themselves trapped by a powerful barrier. The entire area has been sealed. No one can get in or out. Midorishiro admits he didn't expect Ashina to be this foolishly reckless. The monster vows to kill Midorishiro and make him a masterpiece for K. Midorishiro's rage awakens his own power, and he vows to crush his foe. A strange vision flashes, showing fish swimming through a digital sea. The faculty realizes in horror that Ashina was willingly turned into a monster. Ashina confirms that this monstrous transformation was what he always desired. A woman reports that the barrier is too strong for them to break through. The final battle begins, Midorishiro charging the upper-level threat head-on. Ashina praises the beauty of the human body and the sublime glory of battle. Midorishiro scoffs at his opponent's gaudy display, calling it tacky. Ashina declares he is beyond human law, inviting Midorishiro to admire his form. He gestures with a crystalline hand, offering an example of his twisted art. He unleashes a vortex of icy hands in his cold caress of 1,000 hands. Midorishiro analyzes the streamlined, deadly precision of the incoming attack. He is caught and overwhelmed by the crushing grip of the icy hands. The frozen claws tighten around him with immense and painful force. He struggles, yelling that he can't move, envying his foe's power. Ashina revels in the sight, wishing to embrace him with his own hands. Midorishiro breaks free, roaring that his own form is that of a monster. His own flames make him stronger, and he accuses Ashina of being a fool. He punches and kicks his way through the ice constructs with wild abandon. He knows breaking the hands is meaningless without hitting the main body. He continues his desperate, furious assault against the swarming ice hands. The monster stands impassively, observing the struggle as if it were a performance. Ashina unveils his next move, Phantom Frozen Sai, surrounding Midorishiro with ice clones. The crystalline monster Ashina declares that this is his personal art stage. He welcomes Midorishiro Tsuji to enjoy the performance from a special seat. As Midorishiro is thrown back, Ashina laughs, calling him a wonderful monster. Pinning the boy with his foot, Ashina declares the sight is the absolute best. Overwhelmed by the force of his imagination, Midorishiro crashes into the icy ground. Ashina floats above, feeling his imagination overflow and demanding a fallen creature rise. Sitting in the frost, Midorishiro feels a protective film of demon fire on his body. He curses as he realizes this high-level protective technique is beginning to fade. From a rescue room, Wagari watches his own power drop to 19% from maintaining the fire. Ashina admires a colossal ice sculpture of himself, calling it a beautiful masterpiece. Wagari analyzes that creating the sculpture must have drained 50% of Ashina's energy. Ashina gloats that his senses have sharpened, and his body has become a supreme form. Midorishiro glares back, his expression hardened with cold determination. He remembers his initial terror when he first witnessed Ashina's power in battle. Now he screams defiantly that his opponent's art is just unbearably cold. Ashina smirks, suggesting his art was simply too avant-garde for his opponent. Outside the rescue room, a voice urges for the battle to end quickly. Inside, the students watch the live feed, realizing Ashina intends to slaughter them all. A student yells in panic, while another questions the foolishness of becoming a Bakejo. Overcome with guilt, Wagari blames himself for not noticing Ashina's transformation. His classmates watch in despair as their leader falters under the immense pressure. A tattooed student watches her phone, concerned about the dire situation. Standing with a bandaged Urusugawa, Hasumi Renri confirms she understands the stakes. With her own power at 6%, she declares that Ashina has become her enemy. The other students are shocked by her sudden, fierce declaration. Hasumi reveals that Ashina used social media to lure his followers into a massacre. The horrifying truth dawns on them. The battle was a setup to trap and kill everyone. A female student smirks, her own heart having already fallen to darkness long ago. Kasuba Kurusu, his power at 7%, knows they cannot afford to linger here. Urusugawa Kyo sees her power at 1%, realizing she'll only be a hindrance. The team despairs, knowing they can't possibly rest and recover in this situation. On the battlefield, Midorishiro grits his teeth, cursing his reliance on his friends. He runs through the blizzard, knowing he has no choice but to depend on Midorishiro. He confronts Ashina, demanding to know if he was ever truly their comrade. Ashina offers only a faint dismissive sound in response. He declares that he never had comrades, as art is a solitary, lonely endeavor. The students in the rescue room are horrified by his nihilistic words. Midorishiro's expression hardens as he faces his cold-hearted foe. He thinks back on the battle, how both Wagiri and this guy were bastards. Ashina taunts him, noting that it is Midorishiro who is getting sloppy. Midorishiro feels a sudden jolt of alarm that has nothing to do with a physical attack. His eyes widen in shock as he realizes the new technological threat. His classmates watch in panic, realizing his power has been suddenly cut off. A close-up on his phone shows the screen going dark from a low-temperature shutdown. The intense cold seeps into Midorishiro's bones, and he cries out in alarm. His limbs lock up from the frost, and he finds himself unable to move. Ashina smiles faintly, finding even this turn of events to be a form of art. In the rescue room, his friends call out his name in helpless terror. A bandaged teammate watches, whispering Midorishiro's name in concern. Ashina announces it is time for the finale, inviting his opponent to die. He unleashes his ultimate technique, the devastating, deadly kiss of ice. A monstrous, gargantuan ice head rushes to consume the frozen Midorishiro. Just as the attack is about to connect, a new figure smashes through the ice. The devastating ice attack shatters into a million pieces. Emoto Naruhiko lands, apologizing for being late and telling his foe not to get cocky. Midorishiro looks up from the ground in disbelief and relief, whispering Emoto's name. Emoto holds the freezing Midorishiro, asking if he's okay and questioning what that monster is. Emoto smirks, noting that the situation has become quite a spectacle. Ashina seethes, his art obstructed, calling Emoto's intervention the worst feeling. He retaliates with fluttering wings of deadly ice, engulfing Emoto in the attack. Emoto grits his teeth, urging himself not to get flustered and to warm his phone. Midorishiro looks at him with tears of gratitude, whispering his name. Overwhelmed, he thanks Emoto for being so warm and asks to be used. He realizes he must focus on the music, or Emoto's protective wall will break. He desperately tries to warm his phone, begging Emoto to hang on. Ashina taunts Emoto, mockingly asking if he's scared now. The psychic attack hits, and Emoto screams as his mind is brutally assaulted. His eyes roll back as his concentration shatters completely. He screams at himself to focus, to not let the horrifying image overwhelm him. His focus wavers, the connection to his power flickering. The link breaks, dissolving into a shower of digital static. Midorishiro stares in horror, whispering Emoto's name as his friend falls. A furious Augie screams at the monster, calling it repulsive and not a spirit medium. He turns to a young Emoto, urging him to run away. The monster gloats that just like art, masterpieces can fall. Emoto, in the present, closes his eyes, bracing himself for the impact. A close-up on a younger Augie's eyes filled with determination. A young Emoto's eyes are wide with fear in his chaotic home. The memory shows his parents fighting, the loud noises tormenting him as a child. He clamps his hands over his ears, trying to block out the sound. One day, a new neighbor, Emoto-sama, moved in next door. The neighbor, a struggling musician, comments on the thin apartment walls. He apologizes for the noise and offers the young Emoto a gift. It's an old MP3 player, already outdated, containing a single album. The memory of his parents shouting fills his mind. He puts in the earbuds and the world outside falls away. The song Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana plays, becoming his shield. The loud music drowns out the unbearable noise, becoming his personal shelter. He realizes with relief that the music has given him a safe zone. Aogi arrives, intrigued by the boy's power. A younger Emoto looks exhausted but resolute, clutching his player. Aogi recognizes the boy's runaway power as a defensive barrier ability. He smiles, realizing this is a very strong power. Emoto's parents scream at Aogi, asking what he did to their son. Aogi calmly states that he has done nothing. His assistant suggests waiting for the boy's power to run out, but Aogi refuses. Aogi tells his assistant to hurry as he prepares to act. He unleashes a massive, blinding torrent of his own spiritual energy. His assistant stares in disbelief, calling the reckless technique impossible. After the blast, Aogi gently places earbuds into the stunned Emoto's ears. In a chaotic, messy room, a man confronts a terrified boy who pleads for his belongings back. The boy's face shows pure shock and terror, sweat beading on his skin. A different young man, bruised and dirty, smiles warmly, reassuring someone that it's okay now. The first man lies exhausted on the floor, panting his thanks for being rescued. He then points in disbelief, questioning how a monster could be caring for him. The bruised rescuer observes the scene with a weary expression, muttering quietly to himself. A woman reports the boy is safe, as his rescuer gently invites the child to join them. The rescued boy looks up in a daze, hearing that his unique talent will be utilized. His rescuer's attention is caught by the sound of music from a small, old MP3 player. He smiles faintly, admitting to himself that he doesn't really understand music. A shot of a nearby apartment building is accompanied by the thought that it's a good song. Later, the two boys share a meal, one asking about the man who helped them. In a memory, the rescuer cheerfully washes the boy's hair, taking on a parental role. The boy recalls how his rescuer taught him to use his Den-nu power. He reflects on his rebellious phase with dyed hair and piercings, still hating loud noises. For his birthday, he received a pair of high-end Bose headphones as a gift. His friends express their joy for him, playfully calling him a true umibozu. He clutches the new headphones to his chest, overcome with emotion. His rescuer, Aoki, discusses his future, noting he doesn't have to force himself. The boy declares his intent to go to Midden Academy, determined to face his issues. Another young man, Garamoto, asks why he would choose such a frightening path. The boy is left to ponder the simple question of why. He wants to become a spirit medium that his teacher, Aogi, can be proud of. The memory of this resolve fuels his desire to become an amazing exorcist. He gets lost in the music, head-banging with pure, unadulterated joy. The crystalline monster, Ashina, looks on, confused by the bizarre display. Midorishiro grins, declaring that no matter how many times he hears it, it's a great song. The headphones are his sanctuary, blocking out all unwanted noise thanks to Ogi-sensei. His phone, which powers his abilities, suddenly restores its connection. Garamoto gives him a reassuring thumbs up through their psychic link. Midorishiro unleashes a massive blast of demon fire, his cyber power at full output. He knows his power is low and that he must end the fight now with Garamoto's help. Ashina creates a wall of ice to defend against the powerful attack. The demon fire slams into the ice wall with immense explosive force. Midorishiro checks his power level, now at a critical 9%, knowing he's running on fumes. Garamoto urges him on, yelling for him to finish it. Midorishiro thinks about how Garamoto showed him his true resolve. He flashes back to the faces of his friends, their support giving him strength. With a furious look, he channels all his remaining energy into his fist. He knows he has to end it here, for his friends. He roars that this is not a half-hearted resolve as he lunges forward. The full force of his desperate final punch is about to be unleashed. His fist smashes into the monster, but it's revealed to be just an ice clone. Both Midorishiro and Garamoto realize with horror that it was a fake. Ashina laughs maniacally, declaring his decoy a masterpiece, but it's no problem. He compares this masterpiece to one he created 1,000 years ago. Midorishiro is suspended in midair, his momentum spent and unable to evade. Ashina lunges, his crystalline claws ready to strike a fatal blow. The monster's sharp, icy hand slices through the air. A thick, viscous liquid suddenly splashes against Ashina, stopping the attack. Midorishiro looks up, saved at the last possible second. Urusugawa Kyoe appears, her power at 19%, screaming from the cold of her own attack. Ashina looks on, the attack having done little more than annoy him. He returns the attack with a powerful slash of his own. The feet of a new group are shown walking through the snow. Midorishiro looks on in shock, joined by a worried Garamoto. The members of Class B, the Otsugumi, have arrived to back him up. Their rivals, the elite Class A, the Kugumi, stride forward with confidence. Midorishiro stares in disbelief at the arrival of his classmates. He questions why they're here, knowing they're out of power, but they've recovered. The sleep app used for their recovery only lasts for 10 minutes. Onbashi, leader of Class A, declares he has come to crush Ashina. He states that it is their responsibility as classmates to handle this now. Ashina looks on, a flicker of gratitude in his eyes as he thanks them for coming. Onbashi unleashes a devastating attack, the flapping of the death ice. The members of Class B are thrown back by the sheer force of the blast. The attack creates a massive, chaotic explosion of ice. Ashina looks up, his expression one of pained resolve. Midorishiro sees his opponent is irritated, his power now at 32%. Onlookers are amazed by Ashina's perfect blizzard defense. One ally notes that Midorishiro's bravery bought them 10 minutes to recover. Urusugawa points fiercely at Midorishiro, forbidding him from being called a coward. Midorishiro is deeply moved by her words, a blush on his face. The Class A leader laments that he can't focus on the song with all the chatter. He turns to his allies, saying he has something to tell Class B. He grimly states that their battle against Class A was a complete defeat. With fierce eyes, he asks if they will fight alongside him, despite their shame. The two groups look at each other, a new alliance forming. They declare that this mission is something all of them must do together. From now on, it is a total war between both classes and Ashina. Ashina watches the unified force, his expression unreadable. A member of Class A, Owada Iko, unleashes his cyber beast summoning. His teammate Kusaba Eru does the same, her power at 17%. The newly allied students take to the sky on summoned bird-like beasts. Haniyoshi excitedly asks Midorishiro if his heart is pounding from the flight. An ally instructs Midorishiro to save his remaining energy to burn the enemy. The boy in the puffer jacket declares they will use the flame to incinerate their foe. Ashina spots the approaching riders, dismissing them as Uwada's crude pets. Uwada looks on with fierce determination. Kusaba's face is a mask of focused intensity. Ashina declares this is his true form, a sword and shield of supreme beauty. Uwada screams as he and his mount are thrown back by a powerful blast. The puffer-jacketed boy notes a connection to the onsen, but his hands are cold. Midorishiro struggles to aim at the fast-moving target from within the blizzard. 3 students try to cheer everyone on, but Midorishiro tells them to stop. The boy in the puffer jacket tells Wagiri it's always him. He leaps from his mount, diving towards the ground in a blur of motion. Ashina sees him coming, thinking him a fool for making himself a target. The boy slams his staff into the ground with focused intent. His attack is a feint, a low-power strike meant only to graze Ashina's leg. The battle rages as a crystalline figure faces off against a swirling ball of fire. A young man with dark hair furiously questions his opponent about his magnificent wings. The dark-haired youth and his ally launch a perfectly coordinated pincer attack from two directions. A wild-eyed boy with a top knot grins maniacally, sharing a ride with a nervous companion. Onbashi, the bespectacled leader, vows to sever the wings of his monstrous foe, Ashina. A cute, round mascot character holds up a phone, its purpose in the battle unclear. High on a treacherous ice cliff, Hiyori wonders why she climbs, concluding it's because the mountain is there. Hiyori, now revealed as Haishima, snaps a photo for her dead account, her power at 56%. The boy in the puffer jacket leaps from his mount, initiating the joint attack between the class representatives. Ashina screams in agony as his beautiful ice wings are shattered by the combined assault. Onbashi, his face a mask of sorrow, cries out Ashina's name in the heat of battle. With a raw scream, Onbashi confesses that he liked Ashina, revealing a painful past connection. A close-up shows Ashina's face, distorted in a silent scream as he is attacked. Onbashi reflects on Ashina's talent and his extreme, unwavering sense of beauty. Overcome with grief and rage, Onbashi screams, questioning why this tragedy had to happen. Inshiro soars through the air, riding atop a massive bird-like thunder beast. Ashina unleashes a powerful blast, screaming at them to shut up, sending his foes flying. The crystalline artist laments that his opponents could never understand the sublime nature of his art. A battered Kusaba tells Inshiro not to give up, as his power is almost gone. Inshiro grits his teeth in determination, his power level now at a critical 8%. Kusaba, riding on Enshiro's back, tells him to leave this to him and not to escape. Onbashi and his puffer-jacketed ally leap forward in a unified aerial attack. The allies' cyber power suddenly vanishes, leaving them powerless and shocked. The top-knotted boy's power meter hits 0%, and Kusaba realizes his own has dwindled to 1%. The red-haired Hanayoshi confronts the boy in the puffer jacket, cursing his failure. The boy in the puffer jacket curses his failure, realizing he has one last wing left. Hanayoshi Day floats in the air, his power at 29%, laughing with maniacal glee. With a sneer, Hanayoshi declares his hatred for Ashina, mocking his supposed superiority. Hanayoshi taunts Ashina for his vulgar red comment, demanding to see some interest from him. He grabs Ashina's face, escalating the physical and psychological provocation. Ashina recoils, his hand flying to his face as he feels the touch on his wing. He screams at Hanayoshi not to touch him, the contact causing him intense pain. Hanayoshi's face is splattered with blood as he feels the pain of the contact. Ashina laments that his proud body has been stained by Hanayoshi's vulgar red color. Hanayoshi grins with sadistic glee, thrilled that Ashina is finally showing him real malice. He somersaults back, delighted by the reaction he has successfully provoked. Kusaba realizes that Hanayoshi's plan was to melt the wings and provoke the enemy. Hanayoshi gleefully explains that he understands now, and simply wanted to provoke Ashina. With a final taunt, Hanayoshi tells Ashina to go to hell, his mission accomplished. Ashina unleashes the full, unrestrained output of his cyber power in a massive surge. Inshiro stands alone, his hand wreathed in the pixelated flames of his Onibian. The allies on the ground watch as Inshiro faces the monster, knowing his support is gone. Inshiro, with only 6% power left, vows to end the fight in the next 30 seconds. A title card appears, simply reading title. Ashina unleashes his ultimate technique, the swirling, deadly blood ice rondo. Inshiro is caught in the attack, his body rapidly freezing solid under the onslaught. Ashina's voice echoes through the storm, cursing Inshiro to freeze to death. Inshiro recalls his training, remembering the feeling of getting stronger. Overwhelmed by the attack, he screams in anguish, feeling he is too weak. A loud thump echoes through the battlefield, a sudden, unexplained sound. Ashina turns in surprise, his expression one of confusion. A close-up shows a single, swirling, monstrous eye watching the battle. Urushikasu and her ally appear, their powers flaring with light. A colossal winged ice golem rises above the town, shocking Ashina. Ashina wonders if his own giant ice statue is moving. He raves with mad glee, believing his art has reached a new, life-risking domain. The artist's face is a mask of shock, his eyes wide with disbelief. Urushikasu lets out a small sound of surprise, her power flaring. Hajima clutches her phone, trembling as she channels her power. Hajima is revealed to be standing atop the giant golem's head, shocking her friends. Inshiro stares in disbelief, questioning if that is his master. The artist reveals his demon wire puppet power, a deno that manipulates dolls. Hajime struggles to maintain her power, her energy at 15%, but is confident it will hold. The artist cackles, sending the Ashina robo forward to attack in an imagined scene. He lets out a small sound of surprise as his grand plan fails. Hajime stands firm as the golem begins to crack and shatter around her. The golem won't move, completely breaking apart under Hajime's influence. The artist shrieks in despair as his ultimate masterpiece is destroyed. The dissolving, goopy form of the artist hangs in the air. Urushikasa acknowledges that Hajime provided the best assist. Urushikasu, her power at 5%, declares that she has finally stopped Ashina. The artist, his form melting away, admits that his opponent was strong. And Shiro realizes he couldn't have won alone and needed his friend's help. He thinks of his allies, realizing he was the one who let them fall. And Shiro roars that this failure is his opponent's true defeat, his power at 2%. He unleashes his Onabian-gi technique, a devastating spinning kick. The kick Renka connects with brutal force, carrying the weight of his friend's thoughts. The full-page spread proclaims that Midori Shiro has landed the decisive blow. The artist's body glitches and pixelates as it begins to dissolve. With his power at 1%, Shiro feels his strength failing, knowing the curse isn't broken. His Denu power deactivates, and he begins to lose consciousness as he falls. The dissolving form of the artist snags the falling Inshiro. His friends rush to help, shouting that it's not over yet. Kusaba tells Inshiro it's okay, they've got him. The artist's body continues to disintegrate, groaning that he is on the verge of death. He wonders if he can stand being erased, vowing to return to his smartphone. Kusaba looks on, stating that all that's left is... Uwata steps forward, telling his friends to leave it to him, as Kimi is unbearable to look at. Kimi's form asks if it's him, her voice filled with a strange recognition. Onbashi desperately offers to reveal all of Kei's information if they don't erase Kimi. He pleads that Kei had promised to fulfill Kimi's dream of reaching her ideal. Kimi's spectral form writhes and screams as it is consumed by digital flames. Rintaro's allies look on in shock and horror at the brutal sight. Rintaro's own face is a mask of pure, stunned disbelief. Uwata warns everyone to get back from the deadly will-o'-the-wisp flames. Kimi thanks Kei for granting her this power, even as it destroys her. Kimi's voice echoes with cries of pain as she is erased. She screams that it's hot, that she's burning, melting, and disappearing. A serene memory of a younger Kimi emerges, whispering the name K. Rintaro watches the horrific end, his face etched with shock and trauma. With a firm grip on his sword, the uniformed exorcist Uwata whispers a desperate plea for help. He swiftly parries a powerful attack, his focus absolute as he continues to call for aid. A long-haired young man speaks of the departed Kimi's dream to share her art with all humanity. Uwata grieves, realizing Kimi's social media presence and photos will vanish, her image lost forever. The spectral form of Kimi writhes in agony, consumed by a torrent of digital, will-o'-the-wisp fire. Overcome with rage, Uwata screams that Kimi should have lived, cursing the senselessness of her fate. Ashina, a fellow combatant, looks on in shock at Uwata's furious and grief-stricken outburst. Uwata leaps forward, vowing to remember Kimi by cherishing the photos of her that remain on his phone. A pigtail-haired girl, Urushikawa, furiously declares that she was never told they were comrades but vows her loyalty. She screams that no matter how many times Uwata falls, she will always be a part of his squad. The last remnants of Kimi's spectral form dissipate into a final puff of pixelated smoke. A dark, inky blot fades away, leaving a lingering thought of Kei's objective in the Bakejo country. Uwata hangs his head in defeat, whispering a quiet apology for his failure. The entire squad stands together, their faces marked by the exhaustion and grief of their hard-fought battle. The rest of the battered team, including the young Rintaro, looks on, the weight of their ordeal evident. They trudge through a snowy landscape, their scattered forms and defeated postures reflecting their heavy loss. A senior member of the team quietly tells the grieving Uwata not to waver or cry. Uwata, his expression grim, states with cold resolve that an exorcist's job is simply to slay a Bakeyo. Rintaro is struck by Uwata's seemingly unbreakable spirit of steel in the face of tragedy. Urushikawa looks on with concern, troubled by Uwata's detached and cold demeanor. The oppressive snowstorm finally ceases, revealing a clear sky over the snow-covered rooftops. The students help a dazed Urushikawa to her feet, asking if she's still alive after the ordeal. A brief, happy memory flashes, showing Rintaro and his friends enjoying a carefree, sun-drenched day. The defeated Ashina is gently comforted by a teammate, his shirtless body covered in wounds. A helicopter descends to evacuate them as Rintaro reflects that the battle is over, though its meaning is complex. Two figures in formal robes disembark from the helicopter, observed by the wary students below. Two flamboyant instructors greet the returning students with loud, over-the-top, and cheerful enthusiasm. The entire squad of students lines up, their faces a collective mask of exhaustion and bewilderment. In a disembodied conversation, the teachers discuss the strange high tension in the plan to return to the academy. Rintaro and his friends look on, the pigtail-haired girl recognizing this as a familiar, recurring pattern of events. The grand traditional building of Yayoi Academy comes into view under a cloudy sky. Looking at the building, a weary Rintaro quietly states that they have finally returned. He peeks through a doorway, realizing this is the real Kusatsu, a replica within the academy grounds. Inside, a lavish party is underway, with staff in kimonos welcoming them back with trays of drinks. Rintaro and his friends are stunned into absolute silence by the surreal and festive scene. A peer explains their final evaluation is tomorrow, so tonight they should party, despite the recent deaths. A senior student smiles knowingly, thinking to himself that this strange custom is simply the way of their school. An overview of the hall reveals the academy's bizarre tradition. A loud feast is held when a mission results in death. A senior student explains they are celebrating the survivors and raising a cup to honor the fallen. Two students toast, one weeping with grief while being comforted by his stoic friend. Another senior welcomes them back warmly, calling them the students they are most proud of. Rintaro and his friends blush, overwhelmed by the unexpected praise and attention from their upperclassmen. A spiky-haired student blushes deeply, clearly touched by the unexpected and warm welcome. The formidable Minakuchi-sensei addresses Rintaro, stating the school had been hesitant to accept Onabi users like him. From a balcony overlooking the party, she announces that the faculty watched their entire battle unfold. She declares, with the full backing of the faculty, that no one in the school now fails to acknowledge them. Uwada approaches her, offering a quiet apology for the actions of his squad during the mission. He walks towards a dining area, seemingly seeking out Rintaro to speak with him. The teacher dismisses the apology, instead thanking Uwada with genuine gratitude for his efforts. Rintaro watches the exchange between his teacher and squad leader, his expression thoughtful and serious. The teacher approaches Rintaro, kindly offering him a sweet manju bun from a small plate. He holds the manju, which has the character "me" on it and is dripping with icy condensation. Rintaro realizes with a start that the sweet bun he was just offered is completely frozen solid. Taking a bite, his expression hardens into one of pure resolve as he vows he will never forgive Kei. He declares he must get stronger, to never forget the cold pain of this day and the loss they endured. A flashback shows a social media profile of Sabishigeria no Kei, an urban legend with over 53,000 followers. A lonely young man in his messy room gasps in shock, having received a direct message from Kei-sama. He clutches his phone, overjoyed that someone he's never met seems to understand him so completely. A glitching, pixelated hand emerges from the phone screen, reaching out to touch him. The young man lets out a confused sound, not yet understanding the horrifying danger he is in. His body begins to violently distort and pixelate as the malevolent entity takes hold of him. The impeccably dressed skeletal Garan appears, asking Kei-sama what he thinks of the ongoing transformation. A younger, more human Kimi speaks with Garan, who notes it has been 3 months since they began their consultation. Kimi, now melting and bloody, believes he is being transformed into an energetic and powerful Bakejo. Garan looks on, thinking with detached pity that Kimi was supposed to become an Ashen type. He notes that Kei-sama was looking forward to this, but the plan was unfortunately leaked to others. He muses that at least he was able to witness the growth of another individual, Midorishiro Tsuji. Garan decides to offer the newly acquired bean knowledge to Kei-sama to cheer him up. Kei-sama's disfigured face reacts with manic glee, asking if this is for real. Kei-sama declares his insatiable lust for knowledge, having died once before and now wanting to know everything. He thanks Garan for starting the founding day ritual, his plan moving forward. Kei-sama's face, marked with crosses, smiles with chilling and complete satisfaction. He declares he must gather more and more knowledge to fuel his grand ambition. A horde of shadowy monsters, the residents of the Bakemono country, are summoned for the ritual. A spirit riding a ram asks Kei-sama about bean knowledge, to which he clears his throat to explain. The spirit explains that tea cakes are left in onsen rooms to prevent hypoglycemia after bathing. The scene shifts to the tranquil onsen, where the boys are relaxing after their battle. One student explains that bathing in the onsen after a mission is a long-standing school tradition. A student tells another not to splash, joking that it's no problem to lend him a hand. Rintaro understands the reasoning for the reward, but still feels a lingering sense of unease. The girls in the bath are shocked and flustered to see the boys there, questioning the situation. A girl explains they're having a social gathering, calling Rintaro a pervert for staring at them. Rintaro is flustered, thinking to himself that mixed bathing with swimsuits is perfectly normal. A girl screams in outrage at the idea of mixed bathing, calling it impossible and ridiculous. She asks if mixed bathing is common where they're from, or if they're just being overly self-conscious. The girl reacts with a confused "huh?" to the pointed accusation of being self-conscious. The accuser smugly remembers her friend's similar reaction to being called self-conscious in the past. The wild red-haired Hanabashi erupts, asking why everyone is so concerned about the girls. He declares that he loves being naked with other guys and demands the stoic Motosu strip. The blonde Rintaro sternly tells the overexcited Hanabashi to knock it off and calm down. Hanabashi responds with a blush and a delighted "yes," completely thrilled by the command. A teammate comments on the chaos, noting that everything is more fun when they are all together. Another student reflects that while he knows parties are held when people die, he's not feeling the high tension. The girl Kusaba playfully asks a flustered Rintaro which part of his body he washes first. Their classmates erupt in shock and embarrassment at her bold and suggestive question. A tattooed student blushes, impressed that Kusaba didn't turn away from Rintaro's cool fighting form. Kusaba explains that she wants to start a new romance now that her previous crush is gone. Another girl looks at Kusaba, her expression a mixture of surprise and concern at her declaration. Rintaro tells Kusaba she should drink some water, while she notes the gap between his fighting and normal personas. Hanabashi and Motosu resume their rivalry, energetically splashing each other in the water. Soaking in a large onsen, a young man with glasses bows his head, apologizing to his spiky-haired companion for his rudeness during their last battle. The spiky-haired boy is left completely flustered, blushing and stammering in response to the unexpected apology. Their red-haired friend laughs, relieved that the boy with glasses finally understands the other's greatness, while another student notes that apologetic boy was also hiding something. A girl in the bath asks about his secret spatial transportation ability, wondering why he kept it hidden from the rest of the class. A light-haired boy with long earrings smiles gently, explaining it was because he didn't trust anyone at the time. He elaborates, saying that when he first enrolled, the class was fractured, with no faith in each other or their teachers. His expression softens as he touches his face, acknowledging that now, things are different. A group photo flashes in his mind, showing the class now united, as he recalls how they were all focused on their rivals, the Otsugumi, during the battle. A blonde boy asks his classmates how they felt about the recent Koatsu battle. A girl with her hair in a bun admits that even now, she can't stop thinking about the Otsugumi. The red-haired boy agrees fiercely, stating he cannot forgive them for making a fool of him. The boy with a top knot reflects on his teacher, thinking that being in their current class is far better than being a shabby imitation of their rivals. A boy with a prominent tattoo tries to act aloof, but his light-haired companion sees through his cold facade. The light-haired boy playfully teases his tattooed friend, saying he was inspired by his efforts as the class representative. The blonde boy turns to a shy girl with glasses, asking for her opinion on the matter. Overwhelmed by the attention, the girl panics and bolts from the bathhouse, her silhouette seen through the open door. A tiny, energetic mascot version of the girl suddenly bursts onto the scene, passionately declaring that she was thinking about their rivals too. She proclaims with fiery conviction that they cannot settle for being a mere copy of their opponents. The boy with glasses listens, his expression stoic and thoughtful, processing her words. The whole class erupts in chaotic agreement, with the tattooed boy being playfully dunked into the water. One student points out that the hole left by their teammate Ashina's defeat is huge, and they can't join the K mission if they lose again. The boy with glasses wonders aloud if they could have won if Ashina hadn't been defeated. The blonde boy soaks happily in the onsen, a wide grin on his face, feeling that this newfound sense of unity is a victory for the entire class. He turns to the boy with glasses, cheerfully suggesting they tackle the extermination mission together. The boy with glasses accepts, admitting that while he dislikes the feeling of it, he refuses to lose. The class erupts in a massive chaotic argument, demanding a proper victory and a rematch. The blonde boy cheers that since he has now joined the green team, they cannot possibly lose. In a high-tech analysis room, an analyst exclaims that their progress is wonderful. A woman in an elegant kimono acknowledges their great losses, but notes they are one step closer to pinpointing K's location. A data analysis screen shows a black, amorphous blob with a voiceover stating the K extermination operation is now in full swing because of it. 3 days later, in the recreation room, a student playing a taiko drum game congratulates the class on their victory. He announces that as a reward, their class has been granted the right to participate in a limited floor mission. Another student explains this is unusual, as first years are typically barred from such high-level missions. The taiko player wipes sweat from his brow, thinking about what comes next. A mission board shows the next challenge, fighting alongside upperclassmen. The difficulty selection highlights the highest tier, fighting alongside upperclassmen against a bakemono. A memory of a bloody, defeated face flashes in the blonde boy's mind as he stares ahead with determination. He trains relentlessly, knowing the school is already planning their next, more difficult mission against stronger foes. He pushes himself harder, wondering how he can get even stronger to face what's coming. A cheerful voice suddenly calls out to him, making him jump in surprise. A girl with long dark hair and a lollipop introduces herself as a second year, excitedly declaring she's a fan of his. The blonde boy is stunned, realizing he has never even spoken to an upperclassman before. In a training hall, he is mobbed by adoring female students who call him their fan, leaving him utterly confused. The girls gush over how cool he was in the battle, saying they've rewatched it 10 times and are inspired by his Anabi power. He blushes, still processing the unbelievable fact that he has fans. The shock and novelty of the situation are written all over his flustered face. He contrasts this with his past, remembering a phone screen filled with messages calling him scum and telling him to die. The feeling of being appreciated sends him into a state of pure bliss, imagining himself in heaven with angels. A girl with long, dark hair offers him a handmade teddy bear, asking him to accept it. She explains she made it in his image and coyly asks if he's being tricked. Overjoyed, he accepts the gift with a huge smile, promising to treasure it. He tries to flirt back, offering her a sweet candy, but she already has one. Looking at the bear, he notes that it resembles his sister Akari. His curiosity piqued, he asks what kind of training the second years have to endure. He turns around to find the training hall completely empty, wondering where she went. A powerful, unseen force slams into his side with a brutal impact. He is sent flying as a towering, muscular upperclassman appears, demanding to know what's going on. The large man glares down, smoke-like energy curling from his lips as he growls the boy's name, Inugai. The blonde boy, now on the ground, looks up in utter confusion. The muscular man kicks him again, demanding he hand over the teddy bear, believing it's a trick. The blonde boy, Inugai, insists he's mistaken and that the bear was a gift. The large man furiously asks why Inugai keeps using the same trick on him, accusing him of mockery. He pulls out his phone and roars, unleashing his Deno power. A storm of Jamazon delivery boxes suddenly materializes, raining down around him. Inugai can only stare in disbelief at the bizarre sight of the branded boxes. The boxes burst open in a chaotic explosion of shredded cardboard. The title card "With Love from the Jungle" hangs over an image of the boxes unleashing their contents. A whirlwind of knives, axes, and other blades flies through the air, surrounding the muscular man as Inugai gasps in terror. Inugai leaps away from the deadly barrage, a blur of motion. His face is a mask of pure, wide-eyed horror at the lethal attack. The teddy bear he's clutching is also shown with a look of shock. With a defiant roar, Inugai prepares to fight back. He swings his arm in a wide arc, as if to deflect the blades himself. The muscular man is taken by surprise by Inugai's sudden move. Inugai grits his teeth, his face a mixture of fear and determination. His resolve hardens as he prepares to face the threat. He steels himself, ready to act. The true perpetrator is revealed, the dark-haired girl So-So, gracefully manipulating the knives with invisible threads. Her expression is serene, as she softly states that she has grown to like him. A close-up shows her calm, almost pleased smile as she continues her attack. Inugai is completely floored by the revelation, his pupils shrinking in shock as the word thread appears. The knives clatter to the ground as the attack abruptly ends. The muscular man, Kenshi, confronts them both, asking if they were tricked. Inugai stammers, admitting he doesn't understand any of what's happening. Kenshi introduces the girl, So-So, as his second-year classmate, who loves cute things but snaps when her love is taken. He takes a small one-eyed plushie from his pocket and sniffs it affectionately. He apologizes to Inugai, admitting he lost his cool and thought Inugai was trolling him as usual. Soso asks Inugai if her claim to be his fan was a lie. She explains she was curious about him and decided to test him, happily declaring him interesting human number 2. Kenshi is shocked, realizing Soso was so moved she was willing to twist her own body. Kenshi offers the teddy bear back to Inugai, who now refuses it with a look of disgust. Inugai stares at the bizarre upperclassman, his mind reeling with confusion. Soso and Kenshi have a strange exchange, with her asking if he stinks and him replying that he doesn't. In an office, a man with short dark hair tells his female colleague he trusts him, Inugai, despite the risks of pairing him with the others. The woman expresses her doubts, stating that as the one in charge, she feels their personalities are too difficult to manage. Soso apologizes for going too far and offers Inugai a lemon candy as an apology. He warily accepts and puts the candy in his mouth. A cartoonish skull and crossbones flashes behind him as he realizes he's been tricked again. Soso smirks, revealing she's a natural-born liar and hates sweet things, asking if he was deceived. She formally introduces herself as the Angler. A mission briefing appears, outlining their task, to exterminate an upper-class poltergeist, with first years teaming up with second years. Soso smiles, thinking the real show is about to begin. A sharp-eyed woman briefs her dark-haired colleague on their mission. Their target is the elusive online entity known as Sabishigaria K. The Information Analysis Squad is currently tracking K's digital movements. She stresses that precision is needed to pinpoint K's physical location. A monstrous ink-black creature of digital noise emerges from a phone. Their objective is to crush these spiritual bloodstains and absorb their data. These spirits are born from the hellfire of Sabishigaria K. The tears of these spirits contain vital information about their creator, K. A young man with a headband notices a glowing pattern on his hand. He realizes the mark appeared after touching one of the malevolent spirits. His phone shows their analysis is at 77%, a significant advancement. Students gather in a formal hall, the weight of their mission heavy. A body on the floor serves as a stark reminder of the danger. This mission will form the official K counteroffensive unit. The students, including Aotsuki, react with shock and grim determination. A tough-looking brawler clutches a small doll, his expression serious. Aotsuki is stunned that a first-year like him is on this mission. A pigtail-haired girl eats a snack, acknowledging the immense responsibility. Another girl laments being separated from her brother, but remains resolute. The students' unique personalities emerge as they talk amongst themselves. A dark-haired boy admits he brought their friend Aori into this world. A flamboyant entertainer named Kyork is revealed to be surprisingly insightful. The tough brawler confronts Aotsuki, declaring he's powered up and won't lose. Aotsuki observes his comrades with a quiet, thoughtful expression. The class representative, a man with an intense gaze, steps forward. He passionately commands his classmates to get stronger and survive. His heartfelt speech is a desperate plea for them all to return. Another student shouts back, revealing the raw emotions within the group. A calm analyst smirks, his philosophy coldly pragmatic about survival. The students' determined faces show their readiness for the coming battle. Aotsuki winks confidently, while the class rep looks down apologetically. The pigtail-haired girl lets out a mighty roar, prepared for anything. Aotsuki, a second year, is assigned a partner for the mission. He finds himself in a car with a mischievous, dark-haired woman. She playfully teases him, her carefree attitude putting him on edge. Leaning in close, she announces she has something important to tell him. She insists that despite appearances, she is an expert in net-related work. She reveals she personally developed the Kawaii app for their mission. Fired up, Aotsuki declares his intense desire to become stronger. She offers him a special lollipop, claiming it's a power-up item. Aotsuki yells that they must take this dangerous mission more seriously. She leans in close, whispering that things are no fun without excitement. Aotsuki realizes with horror that she is a deadly retired agent. She swiftly pops the lollipop into his mouth before he can react. He freezes, screaming internally as the lollipop enters his mouth. A single thought dominates his mind. This person is bad news. The team arrives at a dark, locked amusement park for their mission. They discuss their unpredictable but powerful new partner, Inugami. They know she is a force to be reckoned with, despite her nature. Aotsuki receives the grim mission details on his phone. A news report details the death of a suspect in the SNS murders. The man was a serial killer who used dating apps to find victims. Before his arrest, he transformed, bleeding from his eyes and speaking gibberish. This monstrous, transformed killer is the entity they are now hunting. His new form allows him to kill with even greater ease. Aotsuki enters the deserted amusement park, looking for 4 missing people. His analysis confirms the target's spiritual presence is within the park. He moves cautiously through the eerie silence, past dormant rides. The park's quietness is unsettling. He expects his partner's chaotic arrival. The silence is shattered as Inugami leaps into view with sparklers. She joyfully declares they should have fun at the amusement park. Atsuki is completely stunned by her disregard for their dangerous mission. His shock turns to terror as horrifying spirits materialize around him. A multi-faced creature whispers to him, causing him to scream in fear. Inugami's playful demeanor vanishes, replaced by a cold, focused intensity. Her pigtails begin to glow as she channels her immense power. Inugami unleashes her signature technique, the Jester's fishing hook. Glowing whips of energy erupt from her hands, slicing through the spirits. She effortlessly carves a path through the horde with breathtaking skill. Atsuki and his teammate are stunned into silence by her power. Inugami lands gracefully among the defeated spirits, winking at Atsuki. She asks if he's just going to leave the weak enemies to her. Confidently, she declares she is the strongest in the entire academy. She announces her intention to go find the main boss herself. A cold dread washes over Atsuki as he looks at his hand. The lollipop she gave him was not a power-up but a seal. His own cybernetic power has been completely shut down once again. He realizes with a sinking heart that he has been tricked. His partner has proven her strength by disabling his own abilities. He is now powerless and vulnerable deep inside enemy territory. Atsuki knows he is in very serious trouble. His unpredictable partner has left him to fend for himself.